What up, guys? I don't know who this dude is, so not looking too good for the debates. And then Discord is like tripping right now. I don't know what's going on with Discord. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't been able to get a hold of him. I'm still trying to, but Discord is like completely not usable. So what's up, everybody? Lo siento. What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? If anybody knows a baller that would like to take his place on short notice, you just let us know. Wish it wasn't one of my days. Better. Yeah, I thought we were going to get the debate, but I don't know where he's at. So, what up, everybody? Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Baller MIA. There might be some reason. I don't know. He didn't really strike me as someone that would just. Like, I agreed to the debate because Kosho seems decently cool. Yeah, sorry, everybody. If you got some ballers on your Facebook, get them to come over here. I can send them a link. And they can jump on right now. So I guess we could just talk about some stuff. I don't know. But if you watch Globebusters, Bob announced that me and him are going to start doing a show weekly on Wednesdays, a little more technical, and it's going to be awesome. So you should tune in and don't be late. Wednesday nights. Forgot the time. You know what this means now? We have to call him no show. It's out of our hands. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Kosho, no show. Yeah, I don't know, and I'll have to give him the benefit here. I mean, Discord is tripping. That's how we met each other. Was on Flat Earth Discord, 24/7 Flat Earth Discord. But it's going haywire right now. You can't do anything. Pick Austin's brain bonanza. Yeah, exactly. Pick my brain. Yeah, so we're also looking forward to it. Me too. Me too, Bob. Indeed. I'm waiting to hear back. Clearly, this dry skin's don't drive me crazy right here. What up, bro? Well, Bob's bringing me in, but sure. Yeah, and I don't think our show is going to be like specific to ether only, but yeah, I'm sure that we will discuss it a lot. The Wednesday thing will be awesome, man. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, anybody's got anything they want to talk about or a video they want me to watch or something like that, just let me know. I mean, obviously I wasn't didn't have any plan for a show right now. But yeah. According to someone I know who knows some people in Washington, D.C., supposedly there's going to be a quarantine announced Thursday. A nationwide quarantine Thursday. I don't know if that's true, but food for thought. So you do know ether will definitely be discussed. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you can't discuss very many things without acknowledging the ether, in my opinion. You certainly can't adequately understand them. You feels me? What do I think about the tilt of the Earth from summer to winter, and the rise of the sun? What tilt of the Earth, man? The Earth isn't tilted, bro. Winter, summer, circuit over top of us. We don't know the intricacies of the sun or the moon. We don't even know what they are. We don't know the distance, if there's a perceivable distance. The medium differentiation, is it in the same medium that we are in? Is it in the middle ground of this firmament, potential firmament? Is it up above it? Are we perceiving the light illuminating via this spectrum of mediums? We don't know. We don't know enough information to adequately understand that. And nothing is tilted, my man. Sent you an email. Did you get a chance? I didn't, dude. But I'll try to remember to check it out. I'm going to check it out right now. There's no tilt. Yeah, that's definitely true. Heard about a nationwide curfew, not a nationwide quarantine. That might be it. Yeah. Quarantine in the sense only one person's allowed to leave that. This is what I heard. Only one person's allowed to leave the house at a time. And yeah, you have a curfew. Only one person per household can leave the house only for a certain reason. Yeah, I don't know. Supposedly it's going to be announced Thursday. We'll see. I'm sure a lot of people heard the video circulated that says that her aunt, this girl, made an audio recording that her aunt works at the Pentagon. And they were going to announce like a 4-week issue quarantine type deal. I don't know. It's stupid that there's going to be any announcement, that's for sure. What kind of, this is America. We don't have curfews. What a clown world. If I need to go somewhere, I'm just going to go somewhere, obviously. So stupid. It's the cold, dude. It is the cold. In case anyone was wondering, they haven't even claimed to have been able to isolate this COVID-19 until a few days ago in Australia, like 3 days ago. So how were they projecting all these mortality rates and infectious rates and how many people had it when they couldn't even adequately isolate it? Flu-like symptoms, a dry cough. So if you had pneumonia or a cold or the flu, they were just like, oh, this guy might have corona. Oh, corona for everyone. It's stupid. They couldn't even isolate it yet. How could they project? How could they give us a trajectory of mortality rate? That's so stupid. How do you? The reason that, but Austin, the reason this is so dangerous is it's so infectious. How would you know that? Shut up. They literally couldn't know that. Literally, they didn't know how to isolate it, and then they told everybody to freak out about it. That is actually one of the dumbest things I've heard in a long time. And I debate Globers like daily, so that's saying a lot. Something's going on in the internet, man. The internet's tripping right now. Everyone's panic buying in the UK. Yeah, you could have told them that a little civilization of fairies were about to attack, and if it was on CNN telling you to go freak out, they would have done it. Worldwide drill. Yeah, very possible. They reset the world economy. They just did a financial reset. And it's like no one even noticed what happened right in front of them because of the common cold. I said what I thought on hello, Kosho's coming on. I don't know. You know Kosho? I thought he was, but I don't know where he's at. I'm trying to figure it out on Discord so I can send him. I mean, I don't know what's going on. He hasn't responded. I mean, I didn't get the vibe that he was going to like back out or anything, but I don't know. We had a couple people agree to moderate and everything. So if anybody knows any Globers that wants to step in, I mean, as much as I prepared for this was to wake up and go about my day like normal because the earth is just obviously not a ball. Maybe I should hit up quite the tight shirt. Psych. I'm not debating that dude just because he's such a gamma. Kosho isn't like a gamma like that. That's why I was going to debate him. He seems like a reasonably logical dude, even though he's not really because he thinks the earth's a ball. Like, I haven't decided if he gets paid by the government or not. But he might not. I don't want to talk about him when he's not here to defend himself. But it would have been like at least entertaining because he's a smart guy. We could have had a nice conversation, unlike quite the tight shirt. I share on Facebook as many globings as I have on my friend list. You should get a bite. Cool. Yeah. If anybody responds to you, I can just send them a link on here. If anybody wants to jump on here, I'd be more than happy to bring them on if they want to defend the heliocentric religion. As you can see, we're just kicked back chilling because I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm going to end up having to change this title maybe. I don't know. Seriously hating this world day by day, excited for the return of our Lord Yeshua. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sad to see how people freak out, but, you know, I'm not, so I don't really care if people freak out, to be honest. No virus has ever been isolated. There's no viruses. It's all a lie. Nature is symbiosis-based. It's not war-based. Everything attacking people is man-made. No, your body appears to create viruses itself. I did that to some crazy foreign ordeal that's just really bad for you. It does seem to be a lie, yeah. But it's, you know, from my understanding, which I'm not a doctor, of course. Thank God I didn't try to be a doctor. Like the viruses have good and bad qualities, and when something's going on, it's basically like fighting it off, letting your body know like it needs to fight off this virus. You need to make some type of change. If you read your chat, you'll see Kosho. Kosho's in the chat. Uh-oh. Kosho's here. Kosho's in the chat. I hear everyone saying that. I'm trying to find him. Yo, hit you up on Discord, man. Wasn't sure where to meet you. You got a link. You want to keep going on with pre-show? Hit me up on Discord. I want to. Okay, yeah. I try to hit you up on Discord, bro, but it's not. I mean, well, the message sent from my end, it's showing that it's sent. See, I'm sending you messages. So yeah, I don't know. Let me send you the link though. See, I told you Kosho wasn't going to just back out. I don't know. Are you not getting my messages on Facebook, Kosho? Be patient, ladies and gentlemen. It appears that we may have this figured out here very shortly. All right, I'm about to try to send it to you on Discord, bro. There you go. I just sent the StreamYard's account to our DMs on Discord, bro. So maybe Coach will jump on here in a second. Discord SRS, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know he's on my chat, but I have to get him the link, man, so he can jump in and be added in. Everyone's like, Kosho's here. Kosho made it. Kosho's here. I look like Jeffrey Dahmer. That's a cool story. Wouldn't it be awesome if you debated Neil deGrasse Tyson or Bill Nye? Yeah, cold day in hell before they debate like an articulate flat earther. Yeah, I got that a few days ago sent to me. Someone said that their aunt works at the Pentagon and they're going to announce a nationwide quarantine of 3 to 4 weeks or something like that. I don't know about all that. Mandela is a pretty crazy thing. I want to just have Brian on to explain it, because he's obviously like one of the top guys that looks into all of it. So I'm going to try to have Brian on just to discuss it himself. I haven't researched a ton of it. I'm super skeptical of it, but I'm also super open-minded. So there's that. Fight the flat earth would embarrass you thoroughly. That's a cool story. Yeah. Well, while you're at it, Mike, ask him if can he explain the theory of relativity, since it's a reification fallacy that attributed a property to a privation? Because I've asked him like 20 times. He can't answer. He keeps on just trying to say, debate me and I'll answer. And I said, okay, answer the question, then I'll debate you. He can't answer the question. And I don't want to debate him because he sucks, dude. It would embarrass me thoroughly. Yeah, okay. Axial rotation and curvature has never been substantiated or proven. Well, how could he embarrass me? I mean, hopefully Kosho jumps in here. But at least we can show he's not just hiding or something. He just jumped in here. I didn't think he would. Kosho seems pretty cool. I've given him a hard time, that's for sure. But he seems decently cool. For there to be a decently cool Glober is like an anomaly. That's why I agreed to debate him and throw it up on my show. I'm not just debating any flat earther that or any globe earther that wants to debate. Like, Craig does this for money, and he's like a super gamma secret king, and I don't have time for that, man. Like, self-inflated feeling of self-appointed importance, where you think you can bash all kinds of people. He isn't even intelligent enough to say. He's not even intelligent enough to admit that flat Earth has some good arguments. He acts like it's just retarded, which shows you he's a blatant liar. If he acts like it's just open and closed book, and it's so stupid, that means you're a liar. That means you are a liar. Okay, because quite the tight shirt isn't dumb. He's just a liar. And no, I don't have respect for people like that, dude. He all he does is bash people, man. Yes. I don't know about that. I certainly don't watch him. Yeah, exactly. He does it for his money. He does it for super chats, man. Like him and all of those Globers, dude. They're just like obsessed with their super chats. Like, so lame, dude. Truth cannot be embarrassed, only denied or accepted. Yeah, exactly. That's why it's not like I went and prepared for this. You know? I've actually just been busy. I haven't had time to at all. Like as in the sense of even compiling certain things. Kosho sounds agency. They need to get some better actors. Yeah, he definitely has the characteristics of a disinformation agent, because he's pretty charismatic, he's pretty smart, and he just doubles down in the face of contradictory evidence and kind of is good at the wizardry of words. So I don't know, though. I'd rather just let him jump on here before I talk too much about him. Like I said, he seems like a decently cool guy. I give him a hard time, though, because I don't play that Glober nonsense. It's annoying. This dry skin is annoying. He sounds 15s, but it's probably 40. Yeah. How do I become a paid agent? I don't know. What tickets exactly they have to all sound smooth and professional. Yeah. I mean, I asked him some pretty point-blank questions, though, that he wouldn't answer, which is what made him sketchy to me. But again, I don't like to talk about people when they can't defend themselves, unless it's people like Quite the Tight Shirt, who goes around talking about people all the time, and Mr. Sensible, who puts out hit pieces on me. So in that scenario, yeah, we slay wizards. What's up? Be on the debate already between you two? We're trying to figure it out. I don't know. I sent him the link. I'm waiting for him to jump on. I don't really know what's going on. But if he just accepts the link, it'll add him in on here, and then we'll be good to go. He did jump in the chat, though, Sassy, so it's not like he's running away or something as far as I can tell. Oh, is the... Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but What's my opinion on the jet fuel hoax? I haven't gotten enough information to actually make an adequate assessment on that. It does seem weird that a commercial plane needs 220 tons of jet fuel. That seems like a lot to have to carry around, and you never see any fuel trucks. I think they say you fuel them underneath the ground though, so you wouldn't see a ton of trucks. I worked at an airport and actually fueled planes. I mean, those were like small private planes, and when I really thought about it, it's pretty wild to think that they're putting 220 tons of jet fuel in commercial planes. But I don't know. Is it out of the realm of possibilities for giant monolithic companies to implement some form of an energy scam? No, but I don't know. Stop watching porn is a great advice. I certainly agree. Porn corrodes your brain. And thank you for the super chat, my man. Much love. Much love. Yeah, corrode your brain. It's like literally it's a weapon. When I found out porn was a weapon, like it literally has been used as a weapon. They used to flood enemy camps with it and stuff to desensitize the soldiers, etc. And actually like corrode your brain. Synthetic introduction of endorphins. I was like, yeah, well, you're not sending weapons at me, grabblers. It desensitizes you from personal relationship. It desensitizes you from all kinds of things. It actually can result in ED. There's literally nothing good about it. So stop watching porn. That would be a good idea. You don't want that work? Is he just playing? Yeah, that's what I thought at first. But he did jump in here. But yeah, I don't see why he would want to do this. But it's not. This is the thing. It's not like this is his. It's not like he's really going to jump on here and be on camera or something. Kosho's not this guy's name, and who knows if he doesn't. It's not like he's personally risking anything except for like his Discord persona of how we know that voice. So I don't know, man. He jumped in here and he acted like he wanted to jump on, so I DM'd him the link immediately, which I had been messaging him. Kosho is a no-show. Well, he jumped on here. We'll see. Kosho on YouTube? I don't think so. No. Government agents can't be on YouTube because they have to change personas so often. Allegedly. I'm kind of messing. I don't know that Kosho's an agent. Like I said, he seems pretty cool. I mean, but hypothetically, if you were going to create a government agent, you'd want him to be pretty charismatic, right? Just saying. They think we don't know they are agents. All very amusing. It's like in Goodfellas when De Niro wakes agents up to follow him, comes on, chills, do your jobs properly. Come on, chills, do your jobs properly. I will say, dude, I straight up asked him. I was like, okay, so let's just get a litmus test here, Kosho. Was the official 9/11 story legit? And he wouldn't answer, and I was like, okay, can you explain, what do you think about if you're about to testify on Hillary Clinton, apparently you can commit suicide by shooting yourself in the back of the head 2 times. Can someone commit suicide by shooting themselves in the back of the head twice? He wouldn't answer. That's how you find out shills, by the way. You ask them like point blank governmental conspiracies to see if they can concede them. It's a pretty good way to start off. I'm sure some of them would pretend to concede them, you would think, surely, right? But maybe they sign NDAs, et cetera, et cetera. What up, Stellium? I'm probably missing some. What up, Chris? Anybody got any extra Globers they want to get, or anyone that knows on here that knows Kosho thinks they can get them on here, or figure it out, whatever? I don't know. What up, my man? Yeah, I was gonna ask, dude. I sneezed earlier. What do I do now? Yeah, pretty wild. But again, 220 tons in a plane doesn't really make sense. Being honest, I don't know. We need a mod. I'm here. Okay, cool. Earn your keep. Yeah. This dude must want the ban hammer. You need to chill out, my man, before you get banned. We're a big advocate of free speech here, but we also are a big advocate of gamma free zone. And this saloon may not be for you, bro. If Bob was a shill, why would he be associated with me who has no filter and just talks about like everything I want to? But the wings can't hold that fuel. And what about sloshing it around? Oh, you're not talking to me? Yeah, I don't know. Kosho going to join in with his imaginary refraction. But I don't know what's going on. He's going to refract up in here, just pop up out of nowhere. And he's going to explain to me how the Black Swan doesn't murder his religion somehow. I personally don't know the answer to that question. I have well water. I heard you can get a good still for like $200 though. Kosho may be Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise may be working for the new Galactic Warrior. And if that's the case, Tom Cruise, save me with your witchcraft. What a wild comment. Kosho's a secret king, calls himself Kosho, so not so secret. Hello. Pushes the mainstream narrative on 24/7 Flags Discord. Yep, this is true. This is true. I feel real bad now. I got everyone ready to watch a debate. I mean, if y'all know any Clovers that want to debate, just let them know. It's like this guy named Austin. I mean, he just got home a couple seconds ago. He didn't do any preparation at all whatsoever. Oh, Kosho's here. Okay, you're muted right now, Kosho. And it says that you'll have to unmute. So, and you can set up a picture or something if you want to, man. Kosho and refraction in his imagination somehow can defeat the Black Swan, but doesn't do that much like in the Canagoo shots. Refraction. Yeah. Thank you for the super chat, my man. Much love. Kosho. Kosho, what's up, bro? Kosho, are you here? You're getting smaller till you talk, man. Kosho, you're on the stream. Can you hear us? This is getting weird, bro. And make sure you're unmuted and everything and you got some audio input. You should be fine, man. I've done this a few times. I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear now?
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Okay, looks like I just need to set up the right mic.
Cool, man. How's it going, bro?
Pretty good, my man. Yeah, I woke up like right at 4:59, man. I was like, oh shit. Here we go. So let me add a pic real quick. I know you were warming up the crowd, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just didn't know what was going on. And then my Discord was like freaking out. So I was just been sitting here talking to him.
Yeah, somebody told me Discord was down. So
yeah, bro.
That's all good.
Yeah, no, so I didn't know how to get into contact with anybody to mod.
Oh no shit. Oh, excuse me. You like your channel to be curse free or something?
Yeah, I mean I don't cuss a lot, man. I mean if you cuss, it's not a big deal, man. We're all adults.
Okay.
I don't cuss a lot, no.
I mean, I can I could ask a friend. I did ask a friend. She's probably sleeping now. Yeah, let me see. I got somebody that I think you're cool with. So let me hit him up real quick. Did MJS? Did you ever hear from him?
No, and like I said, I've been busy. I just got home from an appointment, and then yeah, I mean, haven't been able to find anybody yet because Discord was down.
I mean, if we establish decent rules, it's possible we could police ourselves.
Well, yeah, I think that should be pretty. I think that should be the case, honestly. I mean, just in general, we should be able to have like respectful exchange. Yeah.
Well, what are the ground rules for like a back and forth? Have you ever seen Dr. Science's show?
Nope.
His debate show?
I haven't.
Because what he did was it was like almost like you tried not to interrupt the other side, but you would be able to use an objection if you needed to, and that objection would give you like I don't know, I think it was 45 seconds or a minute. That seems like too long, but 30 seconds or something like that should be good. Like if we're trying to go at it, but the thing is, he also had a timer, and he was able to police how often somebody used that. So, but it seemed to work out pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super laid back, man. So I like free exchange as long as we can both just be respectful. Sure, if you want to do something like that, that's cool. I don't even like the doc. I don't need any of the dogmatic, rigid approach personally. I thought we were gonna have a couple moderators, at least one of them, but I don't know. But I mean, like I said, man, if we could just be adults, it shouldn't be a big deal. We're just talking about cosmological interpretation, yeah. So you tell me, man, whatever you want to do. I'm just chilling.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll hit up this one guy that I'm pretty sure we're all cool with, but barring his response, we might just go at it blind. So hold on.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sassy's in the chat said she would do it. I know. I don't know how good.
I mean, she's cool. I mean, I told you anybody, but the one person you suggested, I felt like he was highly biased. But really, if anybody else, I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with anybody, to be honest with you. Even the person who was suggested.
Okay, let me see if I can.
And then what? How did you want to do because I know you had these 3 topics. Did you want to hit them one at a time, focus on them?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I said to you the other day, I mean, it's real simple, man. Like really the positive claim is the globe Earth because it has like all these metrics. It claims to know everything about it. So that's like a very definitive positive claim. And so really the burden of proof lies to substantiate those claims, those metrics, those movements, etc. And I'm saying that can't be done, and I'm challenging that. And then I'm not, I'm not claiming a definitive model. So I know that isn't. It kind of gives me an advantage, but it's just the way it is. I don't know exactly what the Earth is. I'm saying that those 3 claims of your model can't be substantiated, which are axial rotation, curvature, and then the gas pressure on Earth. So yeah, I don't care how we do it, man. If you want to start by trying to prove the movement of the Earth or whatever you want to do, or if you want to wait for a moderator, I'll charge $75 an hour for my moderation services.
Yeah. 2 things is oh shit. I mean I forgot. I'm using push to talk like I gotta use push to talk, but no, but so I do have somebody that you might be cool with, but I just want to say that I did when we were talking about the subjects, I was very clear not to frame it in the way you just suggested, because I'm not here to debate my beliefs. I'm here to debate a topic which I'm on one side of and you're on the other. And so you don't have to claim that it's some specific shape or size, but you would need to. So let's say we say the axial rotation. I say there is one. You're saying there isn't one. Not saying that there's no evidence for it, but you're saying there isn't one. Is that correct?
So I'm saying the movement of the Earth has never been measured. Thus, it's stationary until proven otherwise.
That should be good enough. There's this M. Scott Veach. You know this guy?
Yeah, dude.
M. Scott Veach is good. He's always ready.
Nah, but come on, man. We all know who that is.
Yeah.
That dude's been in my messages acting extra, man. He seems pretty reasonable sometimes. Cool, I don't know.
Level-headed. I thought anybody have it, or you have anyone else that's fine with me.
That dude's the guy that's always on Panda server.
Always on whose?
Jim Panda server.
Oh yeah, he's on Gems. He's in 24/7. It's all
A
over the
bit
place.
toxic, man.
Yeah,
When
he's
is-
level-headed. Almost any flat earther would vouch for him.
He's ready to
But
go right now.
I believe so. Yeah. He'd probably be ready before I am. I mean, I'm ready, but I'm still trying to get this this picture ready. But yeah, I just have to send him the link, or I think he said he even has one already.
Yeah, I don't know how I have the link, but yeah, you can send it to him. I don't really care.
Okay, show me. You might just have the link to the.
Everyone's saying not him. Everyone's saying not him. So I don't know much about this guy. So I mean, is he gonna? Because this is, of course, my live. This right. I'm not gonna have like some dude come on here and moderate like clearly biased. I'm not saying he's gonna do that. I'm just saying, you know, he gives the illusion of being level-headed and being honest, but I've discussed with him in depth before, and that isn't necessarily actually how it goes down. But yeah, I don't know what do you. I mean, are you cool with Sassy? Sassy's in here, says she'll do it.
Sass is cool. Like I said, just setting some ground rules will be cool. Like I said, the Dr. Science format was always good. I'm not sure if she's familiar with that one either, though. But it did seem to set up an unbiased, decent, because it allowed for the natural back and forth, but then also for an uninterrupted, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, or whatever, every so often. So,
so what you're saying is, if someone's making a point and then there's an objection made, they get 30 seconds or so to explain their objection.
Yeah, basically. Like, let's say, like, me and you, and it gets heated, so me and you are kind of still, we don't really get the whole, uninterrupted time to explain what we're saying. So you have you say objection, and then you can decide 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, whatever. And you can do that every so often. Let's say maybe he would do it once every 2 minutes, which I think is too often, but, I don't know. Maybe you could do one every 3 minutes, every 5 minutes, or something.
Yeah, I mean, whatever, man.
Yeah, you decided, and if Sassy comes on and agrees, I'm good to go.
Cool. I sent her the link, so if Sassy, if you're down, I DM'd you. Yeah. So I think we could just be adults here. Sassy's coming. But I guess we'll wait since we've already waited this long. So sorry, everybody, for it. Being a while, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, so of course everyone knows you obviously think that the Earth is a globe or whatever. So I guess just as we're waiting here as a preface, like you're pretty sure of this, yeah? You would say you're pretty positive that the Earth's a globe?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I guess when it comes to axial rotation, we could start there. Sure. I'm gonna kind of just free ball it for a second. Just tell you, I think I've talked to you about this in the 24/7 server, but I've done a Foucault's pendulum, kind of crude version of it, which is a lot of people would say it's a go-to test to show this, but other than the pendulum itself, there's other gyroscopic measurements that have been made by even a flat earther. I think Bob Nodell had made a 15 degrees per hour observation with an expensive device that I think the FE Core had rented or paid for or whatever. So, I mean, there's plenty of ways to measure this, and yeah, so we can go over that if you'd like.
Yeah, Bob Nodell, you do know, of course, I'm a Globebuster, right? So I like literally talk to him.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but that's just like this. That's just a complete misrepresentation of anything that happened. So, but it read all kinds of different things. There were all kinds of different readings, and he was taken out of context when he was discussing it. And so what were your proofs exactly? A gyroscope and what?
No, yeah, there's many gyroscopic to devices you can use to measure this. I personally have done a Foucault's pendulum, which I feel is compelling because of the the specificity of the measurement you get depending on the latitude and where you're at, which to me is very compelling. But like I said, there's plethoras of examples and evidences for the axial rotation. I think even the Coriolis or just a gyroscope or Foucault's pendulum.
Yeah, so that's 3. I wouldn't call that a plethora. And Coriolis is not even been substantiated, but Foucault's pendulum and gyroscopes are like the 2 main ones that can even really be postulated from your side, from my understanding. And of course, you know that I don't agree that either one of those are sufficient, or I wouldn't be a flat earther, right? So sure. We can just talk about them. They're like you can give an example of how does a gyroscope work and improve the axial rotation of the Earth?
Right. So there's the mechanic ones, which I know a lot of people have an issue with because it's not easy to get it to go for a long time without, noise kind of ruining the data. But there's always been the ones that have been used in airplanes, which have to be adjusted every couple minutes or so because of the noise also. But given that also it has to be adjusted for the rotation, a pilot friend has told me at least. I'm not familiar too much with those airplane ones, so I know that just like a regular digital one that's one that has enough precision for, I think it has to be precise enough to like the 3rd decimal place for meters per second squared. I have seen tests of people who've done it and had it sitting out for, I think it was 6 hours after they tested to make sure it was picking up and not making too much noise, and it's also gotten the same reading you'd get from a gyroscope. I'm sorry, from a pendulum. I'm sorry, but like I said, setting up a simple pendulum that's tall enough, that has a long enough string or rope and a heavy enough dense weight to swing, you can set this up and you'll get the same it won't be 15 degrees per hour. It will be something depending on your latitude. You can do an equation. I'll pull that up for you. But the equation for me said that this should be about 1 rotation in 39 hours, which was something like 4 or 5 degrees. No, I'm sorry. It was something like, what was it? 8 or 9 degrees per hour.
All right, wait up real fast, man. So we're going a little bit different topics here. But so gyroscopes in a plane, they're actually calibrated on the ground, flat, not non-rotating surface. So they're calibrated on the ground. Gyroscopes do not prove any axial rotation. You have to presuppose the cause of the gyroscopes and what's going on. There's a plethora of other explanations. They're not consistent. It also assumes the way that light works and a bunch of other things. There's numerous different other explanations. So that's just assuming the correlation to be the causation when it comes to the imposed cause of axial rotation. So that doesn't actually, gyroscopes don't prove it. And just so Bob can defend himself, since you brought him up, he said we proved to the gyroscope that it was not the Earth rotation by measuring rotation rates at different elevations on the same latitude. Over a degree variance was measured. So they actually took that gyroscope and they went to a higher elevation at the same latitude, and they showed a derivation in the readings, which shows that it isn't purely latitude, or isn't purely latitude. Elevation is actually relevant also. So the gyroscope, again, it isn't sufficient. It makes a plethora of presuppositions of exactly how the reading should be interpreted. So it's just imposing the cause, which is what it's supposed to be proving. So it actually begs the question of axial rotation. And so now we can discuss. I just didn't want to just muddy the waters here. So you want to talk about Foucault's pendulum? You can go ahead. You said that you did it.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it, and I've been to museums where they have it set up, and they seem to work pretty well. But the one that I did was at my old house. So it was like from the ceiling of a 2-story about to the floor. I'd say it was about 30 feet. And poker chips in a wooden, like little turnable tray. So it was pretty dense and round. So that worked well. It took me one or two tries to set it up and get the kinks worked out, because I think the first time I used a hammer, but once I got the weights on there, the chips, it went for something like, I think, 18 to 20 minutes, and I put like a little paintbrush at the bottom, like a tiny little paintbrush, that it could make a line as it went back and forth. And sure enough, it not only gave the precession in the exact direction it's supposed to, but it also gave a magnitude, or it was about the same rate of precession as I predicted. But of course, it wasn't precise, because my measurement wasn't precise, but I think it was within 1 degree, 1 or 2 degrees of the actual precession it was supposed to be. So without having it right in front of me, and I'll pull it up, but there's an equation that you can use to predict what the precession would be for your latitude. It should be 15 degrees per hour at the poles, because you're spinning, you're right where the rotation's occurring. But anywhere else, it's going to be, I don't even want to give you,
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me, but yeah.
Foucault's pendulum supposedly makes the claim that it's going to change based on latitude and axial rotation. I think we all know this. It was originated in 1851. Did you by chance document this experiment you're discussing right now? Do you have any proof of what you're claiming, or how many times did you have to try it to get your the readback that you were expecting?
Yeah, I did document it. I documented all of them in a video. I can't remember what channel it was on, but I have the videos on my computer somewhere. Right, and so like I said, the first 2 times I did it with a hammer, and then the second 2 times I did it with the ceramic tiles. And as I was building it with the first 2 times, I'd say that those I wouldn't include those as the measurements, although it did precess the correct direction. The rate was just kind of it was the weight wasn't swinging around correctly, so it's hard to even judge if the precession was.
So there were all kinds of issues with it. Here's the deal with Foucault's pendulum, Kosho, bro. I think you know this stuff, man. They're super inconsistent. They have to be started. You mentioned museums. They have electromagnetic, the way that they move in museums. That's just means nothing. And if you have to start it, what does that even mean? How does that prove the movement of the earth? It literally can't if you have to start it. And also, bro, very simply, the reason Foucault's pendulum is irrelevant is it doesn't have an independent frame of reference, inertial frame of reference. It's still connected to the very earth it's attempting to measure. Even with a gimbal or whatever, it doesn't have an independent frame of reference. So right there, it's thrown out. It's null and void. And then, like I said, these are very inconsistent readings. You yourself just admitted that your readings weren't even consistent. So you're going to cherry pick when it did work. And then again, even if this magical scenario where these things were consistent, which they're not, and they did have an independent frame of reference, which they don't, and they didn't have to be started, which they do, then there are again more explanations, right? There's actually quite a few explanations. And like I said, we've shown the altitude affects what it is that seems to have some form of a drift. It's inconsistent. And so do you have a response for any of those?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are fair criticisms, although other than the one where I told you I did the pendulum and it didn't, the setup was crude at first, and I made some errors with the hammer and stuff. That doesn't mean I discarded that data. Then when I got the chips, the precession was more accurate. But I'll include all data. Like I said, all 4 times it precessed the correct direction. But that's despite the point. You brought up the fact that you have to start it, and that it's hanging from something that's attached to the earth and these things. So one thing that is not always made clear is that the Foucault's pendulum is a demonstration of Coriolis. You probably know the other demonstrations of Coriolis, the bullet being fired or the hurricane. And with all 3 of these things, it's not the earth rotating that is moving them. It's the earth rotating that is making it seem to precess. So in the case of a hurricane, the wind's going to be moving north or south. And in that movement north or south, it's going to appear to rotate as it's traveling. And the same occurs with the Foucault's pendulum. So it's not that it's going to make the pendulum swing. The pendulum swinging back and forth, and you can think of each of those back and forth movements as a traveling north and south, even though it's not traveling very far, of course. But it's swinging back and forth, and each of those is going to precess slightly because of that rotation. So that might help paint a picture in your head like this. It doesn't necessarily need to be started. The reason why in the museums they have the electromagnetic swing is because it helps to keep it perpetually swinging so that you can catch the precession, for a long enough time.
Well, dude, they have to be started, dude. And again, it doesn't have an independent frame of reference. You can't just dismiss that. You can't just skip over that and then still present that. That dismisses the whole thing when it comes to the validity of measuring proposed axial rotation. And you what you described of your personal experiment doesn't even co-align with the original Foucault's pendulum. So it isn't even adequate in that term. And of course, experiment, because it isn't an experiment. It doesn't have a manipulated independent variable. So this is just imposing the cause of some movement that can be measured inconsistently. It's an inconsistent amount of drift, and it has to be started. It doesn't have an independent frame of reference. So very simply and quite objectively, Foucault's pendulum doesn't work. And then you mentioned Coriolis, which you're presupposing this optical illusion known as Coriolis, and saying, I guess, that it affects a bullet, which has never been substantiated either. It's not even in the Marine Sniper Manual to any form of proof of it. And I've talked to different people that shoot long range. You don't actually have to address Coriolis. That isn't true. And if it affected bullets, then it would affect drones and hot air balloons and even planes and stuff. So that they can't just not affect a hot air balloon, but it affects a bullet that's traveling way faster. It doesn't even make sense. And so that is far from any form of proof of axial rotation. It's unsubstantiated, and it's even openly defined as some form of an optics reading. So Coriolis is, you can't just say it where I have to prove it. And then Foucault's pendulum doesn't have an independent frame of reference, so it's useless from the jump, and it has to be started. We've discussed that. And gyroscopic readings aren't sufficient either, as we've explained. They vary based on not just latitude but also altitude. They're inconsistent, and there are other explanations. You would have to assume the imposed cause there. So none of those are actually. I guess he just backed out. Maybe he'll come back. He left, man. What's going on? That's wild. Surely he'll come back. Maybe something happened. Yeah, he left. Oh, he's back.
I'm not sure what's going on with my internet. I heard you though. I got what you were saying about the drift. You repeated what you said before, and you said that Coriolis can't be substantiated. I'm not sure if you added anything at the end, but I'm ready to respond if you're.
Well, yeah, I've just pointed out the flaws in all three postulations to somehow substantiate axial rotation. Coriolis can't be substantiated. It wouldn't be consistent with the bullets and other things, hot air balloons, drones. And then I explained again, of course, that gyroscopes are presupposing what the cause is. They're not even consistent either. They change with altitude, as Bob has literally proved. And in addition, of course, Foucault's pendulum doesn't have an independent frame of reference. It has to be started. So all three postulations have been Coriolis, Foucault's pendulum, and gyroscopic readings. None of those actually are sufficient, forms of evidence regarding axial rotation. It has to presuppose that cause.
Okay. Right. So I don't want to go over, because I already addressed those points for the pendulum, but I guess you're still not fine with them. But like I said, I did address each one, and so each one should be cleared at this point. So the point of the Coriolis is going to be something traveling across latitudes. If something's traveling across latitudes, what this is going to do is you're going to be moving from a position where you're on our model, you're rotating at one rate, let's say 1,000 miles at the equator, whatever it is. And let's say you move far enough to where it's 999 miles per hour. So in this movement of latitudes, you're going to be decreasing from west to east 1 mile per hour, or the Earth is at least, while you're going to stay a consistent rate at 1,000 miles per hour, because you left, whether it was left the gun or whatever the case may be. You're not fixed to the ground. You're traveling latitudes, and that's going to create the deviation as far as observed from the ground is going to give you. So, right. So the bullet. You suggested that you've talked to the snipers and the Marines, and they don't teach this. They don't teach this to basic snipers. It's not something that you would need to count for on any normal shots, especially under 1,000 yards or anything like that. That's because I think the amount that it would process in about 1,000 yards is something like it's fractions of an inch. I know that the longest distance shots, like the longest sniper kills, they've all said that they had to account for Coriolis, because at that point the deviation becomes big enough to where it needs to be included. But there's other variables that far outweigh Coriolis at anything shorter than 1,000 yards. So it's not something that most snipers, at least in training, like people who are brand new to it.
Kosho, if a bullet is being affected by Coriolis, why doesn't it affect a drone or a hot air balloon if it's affecting a bullet?
Right, and that's the next thing I was going to address, is because, like I just said, and you can see why, when you travel across the latitudes, north or south, this is going to affect it. Now, if you imagine a balloon going up in the air, it's not going to really be affected by this. And the main thing is a ballistic. A ballistic is going to be something that is powered from the first shot, like you shoot a gun, and then after that, it's almost not going to be affected by anything else. I know there's going to be some wind drift and things like that, but it's not manipulating. It's not adjusting for its travel as it's moving, whereas an airplane is. And as far as I know, airplanes do have Coriolis effects. But when you're in an airplane, you're constantly making adjustments every second. So
that's not true. I know pilots, man. I work at airports. You're just making claims, man. I asked you, for example, a hot air balloon or a drone sits in place, levitates in place. It isn't affected by the Coriolis, but a bullet traveling the speed of a bullet is affected by it. Do you not see how that's logically inconsistent?
Yeah, I do see how what you said is not consistent with what I said, because I just said that it has to travel across latitudes. So traveling across latitudes, because it's changing speeds west to east. A balloon going straight up in the air, a drone hovering in the air, these things aren't going to be going east to west or west to east. I'm sorry, not west to east. They're not going to be going north to south at a rate that's not like I said, a drone in an airplane you can forget about immediately, because you're making adjustments constantly. If there's something like a deviation due to Coriolis, it's not something that you're going to confront, because you're making constant adjustments to where you want to go.
How am I making an adjustment, bro? I take my drone outside, I let it just hover in place. There are no adjustments. It's just hovering in place. Why is it not affected by Coriolis if a bullet is affected by Coriolis? It literally doesn't make any sense, Kosho.
It would make sense if you include the thing I just said about traveling north or south.
Why do you keep talking about traveling north or south, and I'm talking about something hovering?
I know. That's the issue, that you're talking about something hovering, and I keep saying that when you travel north or south, your speed that you're rotating from west to east is changing immediately. So if you're right now, I'm probably at somewhere like 800 and something miles per hour. But if I go anywhere north or anywhere south, or I throw a football or fire a gun or anything north or south, that bullet is going to have the speed that it had from the position I shot it from. But the land that it's going over is going to be moving at either a slower or faster rate, which is where you're going to get the deviation. A drone or a balloon hovering up in the air is not going to experience this.
Okay, what if the balloon starts to move north to south? What happens then?
Well, like I said, it's still going to be powered or steered or something. So if you're constantly steering something, then you're going to far outweigh anything Coriolis is going to do. I know that some planes over time do, like I said, they don't have to make a conscious adjustment to it, but they are going to be affected by it, because if you're making constant adjustments, you're not going to have to pick up something that's such a minuscule thing after a long rate, enough time. So if something only occurs, like, I don't know, I think it's like I said, an inch over 100 yards or something, an airplane's not going to pick these things up whenever it's constantly adjusting for drag and adjusting for direction and all this other stuff. That stuff's going to much outweigh the Coriolis, and they're never going to have to account for it.
Yeah, they don't ever have to account for it at all, dude. Because I've talked to people. You can say that they do, but they don't, and it is logically inconsistent if you're just saying things. Like if the balloon goes, bro, it's going to be affected by Coriolis if a bullet is affected by it. And you can say, I don't steer balloons. We're talking about just letting the balloon go. We're not talking about steering them. You said that planes have to constantly make adjustments for. No, that isn't. They're not constantly making adjustments for Coriolis or anything like that. You're saying it would supersede what you would have to adjust for Coriolis, but they don't. That's not how any of that works, and it would be affected based on directions. So if I shoot a bullet in the east, south, west, north, those would all be different based on the Coriolis. It would be a different derivation, right? There isn't some like consistent equation that would affect it or would adequately help you map out or project what the Coriolis would do. It would vary based on directional input of inertia. So it's preposterous, and it's never been proven. It's never been substantiated. Literally, I've talked to people that are long distance snipers, and they say they never take into account and make adjustments based on Coriolis. So it's just patently false, and it would affect me throwing something up in the air and catching it. It would affect any form of something floating, whatever. So Coriolis can't be substantiated. It's just needed for your model, but it isn't substantiated either. So farthest from the truth is that it proves axial rotation. And so very simply, I think we should just move on maybe, but if that's all you got.
Not before I corrected things that I just said that you just repeated incorrectly. I just said that pilots don't have to account for Coriolis. Not that they do all the time. I didn't say that. They don't have to, because they're constantly making adjustments, not of Coriolis. They're constantly making adjustments that far outweigh what Coriolis would do.
I clarified that.
So that's why pilots are not going to have to deal with this. Right. And you said something about, you keep saying the balloons thing, and you're saying it needs to work with that when I just explained why it wouldn't. So why don't you tell me why balloons should be affected by Coriolis if bullets and hurricanes and all these other things are?
Because they just would be. What if there's a movement that's affecting a bullet, which is moving incredibly fast? It would affect a balloon. Okay, I'm not the one that claims Coriolis. That's never been seen or anything. I don't have to predict anything about it. It's just not there. It's negligible because it doesn't exist. You're claiming that it does. So yeah, and this is getting somewhat circular. But if the only three postulations for explaining axial rotation is gyroscopic readings or Foucault's pendulum or Coriolis effect, those are all not real. I mean, are inefficient. They're irrelevant, and we've explained pretty thoroughly why. And it's presupposing causation in all three instances, and it's not been substantiated. And again, it's very simple, man. If the bullet is traveling that fast and affected by Coriolis, it would drastically affect anything else moving slower. It's that simple, man. So like if I throw a bottle in the air, the amount of time it takes that bottle to get back would be less than me shooting a long distance sniper. It would affect it, but it comes straight back down to my hand. There would be an effect. You can't have it both ways where it's like, oh, well, there is a Coriolis because we need it for our model and it affects bullets, I promise, but it doesn't affect other things in the air. It just doesn't make any sense. It literally doesn't make any sense. I know that,
I don't want to offend you, but I feel like the only issue here with Coriolis is that you don't understand what's supposed to be happening. And I can tell that by the examples you give and where you should see it, like throwing a bottle up in the air or a balloon or something like that. And I don't understand what effect you think that throwing a bottle up in the air what effect you should see from Coriolis, because you shouldn't see any, and no one expects to see any, and you don't see any. So that's consistent with Coriolis.
If a drone sits to Kosho, if a drone hovers still for a week and it doesn't go anywhere, would it not be affected by Coriolis?
No.
Okay. Well, okay, man. Here's the deal. And can you provide some evidence that, based on the Coriolis equation of this mystical optical ideal, that snipers have actually had to adjust for, and then you can show the adjustment they made based on the derivation that comes from the equation of Coriolis, and then exactly how much they adjusted their shot, and then showing them land a shot? Because shouldn't that be a very easy thing to replicate and demonstrate?
Sure.
Because I've never seen it.
For sure. I can show you where the while I'm pulling this up, you can tell me where because you said you have some friends who fire and all this other stuff. So I don't know if you can tell me the range at which they fire at, maybe the farthest distance they fired at, or what the case may be. I happen to have the long distance shots right here, the range at which they fired at. They don't have they don't have like the adjustments they made during the shot, but I do have the so not every sniper manual has this, but some do, and they have the chart for how much deviation you would expect to see due to Coriolis, so I can pull that up.
That's not what I asked for, Kosho. Do you have some form of evidence to show that based on the derivation necessitated by the imposed causality of Coriolis, where someone has done that and then had to make the adjustments and shown that based on their adjustment, the shot was landed at a long distance? Because that's your claim, that Coriolis affects bullets over a long distance. So do you have any form of evidence?
Like I said, the people themselves saying that they had to adjust for it. Was I there? No, I wasn't there. But
do you have a video of this happening, Kosho, or anything like that?
No, this was a military kill that he killed a guy with his sniper. So I don't have this on video, but they are the longest distance kills.
Yeah. Do you know how they do that? Do you know how they snipe? They use a calculator.
Yep.
You know that, right?
Yep.
Okay, so they're using a calculator with just a presupposed input, and then they just take their shot. That's what happens. And I've talked to people that don't use this little mystical calculator, and they don't have to account for any of this. And so to claim that there is an actual like external thing that's being taken into account on the bullets, that's a positive claim. It had to be substantiated, other than the fact that there's a calculator that claims to factor this in, right? And it would change based on every direction. So it wouldn't be consistent. There wouldn't be a consistent input of the equation of Coriolis, right? You understand that, right?
No, there would be. The direction would be a input, right?
Yes, but I'm saying, yeah, you're saying you're just relying on the calculator to do it, right? But I'm saying it would be different in all directions. Do you agree with that?
It would be different in all directions. That's why the direction is important. That's where why you put that in to get that precision shot. The same way you have to put in the wind, and the same way you have to put in whatever other data the dude who's making those calculations has put in. But in those two cases, they do both state that they made adjustments for Coriolis, which
they didn't make adjustments for it. They put it in a calculator, and then they took their shot based on the readback.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So that's just a presupposition of this equation. What I'm saying is, if you can take the effect, it's very provable. There should be thousands of videos of this. Thousands. If we have an equation of the Coriolis, we would just factor in what the derivation should be, what we need to account for, right? And then based on that adjustment coming directly from the equation of Coriolis, this proposed mystical thing, then we would be able to see that the adjustment was consistent with the input of the Coriolis equation. That isn't the same as someone taking, oh, this is the humidity, this is the air pressure, this is the wind, this is blah blah blah, and then they put it into this calculator. The calculator gives back a reading of what they should look at, and then you just say, I promise Coriolis was factored in with that. That isn't independently verifying Coriolis. It never has been independently verified. So axial rotation has never been independently verified, bro. Like literally everything you brought up something from 1851, bro, without an independent frame of reference. If the Earth was moving, wouldn't we have like hundreds of proofs of something? You know,
what did I bring up from 1851?
Foucault's pendulum is from 1851.
You understand that Foucault, just because he was alive in 1851 Doesn't mean that I did it in 1851.
That's not what I'm saying.
The museums that have it did it in 1851. They're done
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah, and they're electromagnetic and they have to be started. So this is getting circular. So I think we're obviously going to have to agree.
We can move on, but I'm not with you. Not with you just brushing off everything that you're saying that's an issue with any of these. I'm telling you the actual that it's not an issue. Like there's nothing about electromagnetic starting or you having to start it that causes an issue.
If you have to start it, bro, Kosho, if you have to start it, it isn't measuring the movement by itself. If it was just moving, it would just move itself because the Earth is moving underneath it. Okay. And you also have an independent frame of reference, and you still haven't even addressed that one time yet. You said
I have. So when you have a hurricane, does anybody claim that Coriolis is what causes hurricanes? Do they say that Coriolis is what killed people with snipers? The bullet's just resting on the table, and then Coriolis makes the bullet fire and kill the guy. Or is these movements already occurring? The movements of traveling from north to south of the wind, or the movement of the bullet being traveling north or south, or the pendulum that is already swinging. There's no claim that it needs to start the movement of these things. It's just the procession of it. And as I told you, as the pendulum is swinging, each swing is as it's going across it's going across a small, minute part of the latitudes, and that small part is going to add up in each swing. Each time it processes. So it doesn't matter that it's attached to something on the ceiling or something. It's each of those swings that's processing. But like I said, I know we don't have to go over all these again, but I don't think it's fair that you discount these things that I'm giving responses for. There's responses for each thing.
Well, that wasn't a sufficient response, my man. And we're obviously not going to agree on that if you're going to believe it no matter what. But if something's connected to something that's connected to the Earth, it's still connected to the Earth. It can't, it doesn't have an independent frame of reference, man, inertial frame of reference. And even if we were to just dismiss that, which you can't, you're just saying that it has a gimbal and it's measuring the precession. Yeah, we know that. I understand that. Like, it's not like you're teaching me about Foucault's pendulum, bro. It's 170 years old. What I'm saying is it doesn't have an independent frame of reference. It has to be started. And in the museums, they have electromagnetic nature that means that it's helping cause the movement, and they're inconsistent readings. Even when you invoked your own personal experiment, then you said that it wasn't different, it wasn't consistent. You had to do it a few times so you got it right, and that you had to change all kinds of things. And I've heard you explain it on 24/7 also. So if they're inconsistent readings, it has to be started, and it doesn't have an independent frame of reference. It's far from evidence or proof of the axial rotation that's claimed by the heliocentric model. So that doesn't work.
The readings that were inconsistent weren't inconsistent because the tests are inconsistent because of my setup. I used a hammer. That's what changed. I didn't use a hammer the second 2 times, and I got within the range of Coriolis for a crude measurement. But like I said,
this is just what you're saying. And
yeah, I have a video.
Did you have to start it, Kosho?
Did I have to start it? I didn't have to start it. No, it was hanging up, and I had a string with it attached to a chair, and I simply took a flamethrower to that string.
Okay. Okay.
Gravity did it, and then the precession was done by the rotation.
Gravity did it. Okay, man. Yeah, I think we kind of covered the axial rotation. Do you have any other pieces of information you would say prove axial rotation other than?
Just one final one, which is really the first one. Which is the visuals that we see in the night sky, which invokes the question, is the sky moving or are we moving? And that's when you then do the test that I just described. But the first observation is the movement of the sky and the intricate movements, from the rotation each day and the orbit each year, and the movement of the planets and these kind of things that are juxtaposed from those other movements, so you can see that they're isolated from the other. So and I think that if you study those movements precisely, you get a pretty clear and consistent idea of not only the fact that we are rotating around an axis, but just exactly how fast and how much.
Hey, Kosho, if stuff in the sky is moving, is it possible just the sky is moving?
Yeah, that's why that's why it invokes the question: is the sky moving or is the Earth moving?
Okay, so we can agree that doesn't prove anything.
And then you do the things that kind of I described. Those tests would give you the answer to it. Also, we brought up hurricanes, but the biggest thing about all this is the rotation is different. It's opposite for everything that I've stated. So for shooting a bullet, for hurricanes rotating, for the sky rotating, all of these things are going to give you opposite directions of rotation depending on if you're north of the equator or south of the equator. And that alone not only tells you that we're rotating, but that you're on some three-dimensional object that has two opposite sides. So, but
yeah, you're just making assumptions based on what's on the sky. We're talking about terra firma, bro, and obviously that doesn't actually prove that. You're presupposing causation again, Kosho. You know that, bro.
well, hurricanes aren't necessarily in the sky.
Oh, okay. Well, then you're rushing together different things. Actually, hurricanes don't always even consistently obey this mystical law of Coriolis. But you were just now invoking the sky, right? We've already pretty thoroughly discussed Foucault's pendulum, gyroscopic readings, and Coriolis. Now you're saying the sky. Well, the discussion here is the Earth, terra firma. You know, is it moving? If something's moving in the sky that in no way can prove that the Earth is moving, we need to establish movement locally and then apply that to what we see in the sky. And then you could actually adequately derive what the corroborative vectors were and after that. But we're talking about establishing axial rotation on Earth, and the sky doesn't prove that, man. If the sky is moving, that doesn't mean the Earth is moving. So axial rotation has never been definitively substantiated at all, bro. It presupposes the cause of axial rotation and begs the question. That's what all this is.
What do you what thoughts do you have about the opposite directions? And I know before you just set aside by just saying I'm talking about the sky, remember that I also said that this occurs with gyroscopes, with pendulums, and with hurricanes. So without brushing it aside, I'll include the sky and what else was it? Oh yeah, right, in the bullets. But we'll just talk about the opposite direction of rotation. I'm just curious what your thoughts are. Not just saying that, okay, well, you're presupposing this hasn't been proven. Well, I'm going to ask you, what do you suggest would cause something like that to occur?
Well, the opposite directions of hurricanes.
Hurricanes, the sky, everything. Yeah.
Well, hurricanes aren't in the sky, Kosho. I don't see how those are.
Hurricanes and
I know, but I don't see how those are related.
Because they're both rotating opposite direction. They both give you opposite direction, north or south. North, the sky rotates counterclockwise, and it rotates clockwise in the south. I think the hurricanes, I think they go clockwise in the north and counterclockwise in the south.
But that isn't actually always true. Have you researched that? Have you researched any anomalies to that rule?
I've heard of maybe one anomaly, although I've never.
That's all we need, Kosho. All we need is one time, right?
No.
So one time.
If something occurs 20, 50 times a year, and they're always consistent, and then you hear from somebody, that it happened the other way once, even if they have proof that it did, you could look into the details and see maybe how this occurred, but it's not impossible that it didn't do that once sometime in history, but I've never seen it.
Okay, but actually just one time would disprove the claim of Coriolis causing there being opposite movement of the hurricanes based on hemisphere.
Then what would you say was the reason why it was consistently doing that? It's doing it almost every time. I'll bet $1,000 that the very next hurricane or typhoon or whatever is going to be obeying this.
Yeah, there's certain wind patterns on Earth, man. I'm the one that I don't know why everything does everything. There's certain wind patterns on Earth, and they're not even. What you're saying is that they always do a certain way. No, they generally do. You can't claim some version of absolute from a generality, and I don't have to know the very specifics of why hurricanes do what they do. You're the one claiming to know why they do what they do, and you're saying it's Coriolis, and you're using that as some form of way to substantiate the claim of axial rotation. So that's. I know that you want me to try to explain it and then compare the explanations and think yours is more valid. That isn't actually how this works. I'm not claiming any form of movement regarding the hurricanes. Like hurricanes are just hurricanes, man. They they're based on wind and probably a variance of other factors, and none of which are axial rotation. So what I'm saying is, and we all know this, and all the listeners know this, man, and you know this too. You're smart, bro. You have to presuppose the cause. So that doesn't. And now you're asking me to explain things. So that is not the question here. The question is the Earth a spinning ball? Is there any proof at all for that? And no, there's only evidence of the opposite.
Yeah, I'm asking you because you're a smart guy. And when you hear something like the sky rotates opposite directions, north and south, you're like, okay. And the hurricanes rotate opposite directions, north and south. And you're like, do they? I guess, okay. And then I'm like, pendulums rotate and precess opposite directions, north and south. And then you say, well, that's just a presupposition. Well, I'm asking
You're asking me for my speculative opinion.
I'm asking you, why do you think that this is? Do you think it's a coincidence that these three things are happening? Do you think that there's some mechanism that's allowing this to happen consistently in all these, different forms of rotation? Like, I don't understand. Like, I understand how you can just brush it aside without giving it any further thought, just because you don't feel like making a claim about it. I'm not asking you to make
okay. I mean, this is speculative, of course, and you're making a definitive positive claim. You know exactly what the Earth is. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a toroidal, expression or manifestation of energy that the Earth is encompassed in, and all movement would obviously be relative to that, and we would have some form of synchronicity based on that manifestation of energy, the electromagnetic energy that the Earth is encompassed in, a toroidal manifestation. I don't know all the specifics of it. We're not even allowed to freely traverse the Earth, so much less are we able to adequately understand it in entirety. But yeah, that would make the most sense to me. And yeah, they would have some version of synchronicity because of that.
Yeah. How would that cause things to rotate in opposite directions, north and south?
Well, the toroidal manifestation of the energy would cause a drift. Yeah. So this is my speculative answer. It is that there is an ether drift, relative to the manifestation of the toroidal field. But that's speculative, and this is a debate, right? We're supposed to be establishing some form of empirical evidence for this globe religion.
Right. And I feel like I've given you so much, and I feel like you've given me nothing but, naysaying. But I haven't heard much evidence for the contrary, because as I said, these things are consistent. You can hold on. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Froze up. Okay. So these things are well recorded, and without beating dead horse, I mean, I would just say I would look into these things, and really, like, it should be bugging you that it's one thing to naysay, but it's another thing to not have any explanation whatsoever. Why
I just gave one.
Consistent? No, you didn't. You didn't make one. You said some words that I asked you to be specific about, and then you said the same words.
No, okay, yeah, dude, you're asking me my opinion, and it's trying to dilute the conversation away from the fact you're making a definitive positive claim of the Earth, Kosho. I'm not, but I still even played your game, bro. I told you, yeah, dude, it's very simple. There appears to be an ether field, an absolute frame of reference, and it has an energy force field that manifests toroidal. And yes, everything that we see, movement, is based on potentially this energy interaction, transfer of energy, and the way that it manifests. And so the fact that I don't know all the answers to that because we can't even freely traverse the Earth doesn't make the Earth a ball. That's magic and spinning,
You could have just read the Gettysburg Address, and it would have been just as relevant, because what I asked you was, what causes the opposite direction of rotation? Not what do you think?
I don't know, and it isn't even consistent, Kosho. It doesn't even always do that.
Okay. It does, but okay. You can give me the examples where it doesn't, but it does. It does always do it.
You just admitted earlier that it doesn't always do it.
No, I said that it does. I said even if it didn't, every hurricane or typhoon or whatever, which in my experience it has, that one time out of a million is not evidence that that it's consistent over a million times. If you flip a coin, get heads every time, then there's something up with that coin. You're not just going to say, oh, well, I just got lucky. I flipped a coin a million times and it landed on heads every time.
That's not the way this is at all.
I mean, it is. I mean, they rotate in directions that's consistent with the hemisphere. But that, like I said, we won't beat on it too much, but I'll just say that when you think about something spinning in two different directions, like the sky, there's no way to make that possible on a one-sided thing. It has to be an opposite-sided three-dimensional structure that's rotating. That's the only way that you can come up with that. And even if you came up with something and you said some explanation that was hopefully more relevant than the other one, I'm telling you, there's no way to make that work. And I've tried it. And yeah, like I said, these things should bother you, but they don't. And I'm not
No. It's not that it bothers me. What bothers me is that you think that somehow equates to proving your positive claim. It literally doesn't at all. Okay, we would need to know a ton of things. You're gonna say I'm just saying words. That's why I didn't want to do this. Okay, but there's a magnetic permeability aspect of the lights in the sky, the sun and the moon. We would need to take into account if there is some form of firmament. We'd have to know the dielectric permittivity of it. We'd have to know how everything reacts within this environment locally. We would have to understand the manifestation of the energy and how it affects the wind patterns, how it affects the overall manifestation of the energy. We would have to know the actual electromagnetic aspects within this entire circuit that we are within to fully adequately explain these things. And so since we don't, that doesn't make the Earth a magic spinning ball. You're making a positive claim, and then you're trying to say, oh, well, since we've mapped out a model over 500 years and worked out all these discrepancies, now since you don't have one, whatever, I'll just ignore all the facts here. So that's not how it works, bro. So you have to substantiate axial rotation. Now you have gotten to where you are just basically diverting the burden of proof. You're shifting the burden of proof to me, and you're like, okay, well, you explain it. And it's like, that doesn't really work. But so do you want to add Sassy in as the moderator?
Yeah, I've given you so much evidence for all these things. I've explained all different examples on how they occur. If you say that's diverting somehow by asking you to at least try and give some kind of explanation for why this would occur, since all you're doing is naysaying that evidence, you're not providing evidence to the contrary. You're just saying, oh, no, that could be something else. Oh, no, that could be this. So I'm asking, what could those be? But I'm not diverting the burden of proof to you at all. Although I would say that the burden of proof would be yours, but
it's objectively not mine. You're making the positive claim. You shift the burden of proof. What's up, Sassy?
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good.
So far, you guys were having he brought up three subjects about axial rotation, the Coriolis effect, and I didn't hear what the other one was because I was moving.
Gas pressure in the atmosphere.
Okay, where are y'all at on that?
We've pretty substantially discussed axial rotation. There is no legitimate proof of it, of course, in my assessment. But you want to move on, Kosho, to the second one?
I do want to say that no one is claiming the word proof. You're saying this proof thing. I'm just giving you evidence. Evidence is all that I can provide. Proofs, I don't think, are something that that we deal with in science. So, but I would say I've given you a handful of evidence for all these different aspects of the rotation. What you do with it is up to you. But I don't see how every single point or every single complaint about any of those points wasn't addressed. But like I said, without spending too much time on it, we couldn't move forward to the next one.
Yeah, dude. We'll let the viewer decide, bro, because you didn't substantiate them. So we'll just move on to the second one then. So yeah, do you have any do you want to provide evidence for curvature?
So I think when people get real confused on because I know like people like Neil deGrasse Tyson say, oh, you can't see it from this high. And then I know you guys will ask, well, if he says that, how come Stanley says you can see it from the ground? And I think that people aren't realizing that, first of all, neither of these things are direct observation of curvature. I guess the one in the sky would be a direct observation of it curving. But the one on the ground, and most of the times when you're seeing it, when you're seeing the horizon drop or you're seeing things obstruct behind it, these are all due to the curvature. So it's like you're seeing a consequence of the curvature. And so, yeah, I'd say that when you see things obstructed from the ground, this is absolutely evidence of the curvature. and there's plenty of evidence for that, including in y'all's observations where you claim it's too far to see. There still is a horizon, and there still are things obstructed behind that horizon. So, I mean, that right there is the evidence. But I know that you guys have an issue with that. So,
Okay, so Kosho, do you have any evidence for a curvature of the Earth?
yeah, I mean, I can pull up a picture if you'd like, but there's plenty of pictures where things are obstructed by the horizon. Any picture that's obstructed by the horizon, yeah, would be part of my evidence. So I'm not sure where I can post pictures in here.
Yeah, you can just screen share. You can, if you pop something up to screen share, then I can put it on the screen.
All right, perfect. Well, give me a second to do that. I have some here, but I mean, we all know we all know the content. So, like y'all have some. Y'all know Stanley has his. You know that George, that George, he did it on Rainy Lake. He did a full on measurement. Walter Bislin actually covers both of these. So perhaps I'll pull up Walter Bislin's his site. I'm not sure if you've been to Walter Bislin's site.
Maybe we should just bring up the Black Swan real fast, and then you can tell me somehow how that doesn't disprove your model.
Yeah. First, tell me how it does disprove the model, and
Okay.
we'll go from there.
Sure. Let me find it.
Sure. Because I know QE's claim, but I'm sure it's written on the memes that you guys have. So, and I'll tell you, it's deeply flawed, the claim itself. But so once you state it, I can tell you where that is. But it's a neat picture.
Yeah. Yeah. It disproves your geometric horizon that you're already trying to invoke. So I figured it'd be more beneficial to just bring it up at the beginning.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that works. Like I said, I was going to pull up any one at all, because anything that shows obstruction beyond the horizon immediately invokes the curvature, because then asks, why is this being obstructed? Why is half of the building or most of the building being obstructed, but I can see the top 2 floors in the steeple?
Kosho, are there other explanations other than your ball religion
for that occurring? No, not at all.
For obstruction?
To see things disappearing with distance, yeah, this is a perspective, but it doesn't occur from bottom up, where you can see, like I said, the top half / the bottom half's completely gone. Like it's really, it would confuse somebody who's trying to say that the half of the building is being obstructed by the horizon, by the perspective, but the top tower is in full view, and you can see it as if it were the size it's supposed to be, but the whole bottom part of the building is missing for some reason. I mean, that would bewilder me if I didn't think there was curvature.
Okay, I don't know exactly how this works, but I'm just going to try. I think it might just put the whole picture up on the screen, but we can just still discuss it.
Sure.
All right. Yeah, I know you've seen this numerous times. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess briefly, for anyone that hasn't seen it, you get the geometric horizon based on this. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3,959 miles, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Do you agree with that, Kosho?
No.
Wow. Okay, well, let's hear it.
And actually, I'll ask you after I say this, where you've come up with that, because that was actually asked somebody the other day. I was like, I don't know why he would state that. And I don't know why anybody would agree that that's true, but nowhere, anywhere is that stated that the mat, because it says there in capital letters, like he likes to put the font in bold and red and everything. It says max 122 times the square root of the height, but there's nothing that says that that's the maximum distance that the visual horizon is going to be. There's nothing.
Yeah, that's what happens with geometry. bro, if it's an ellipsoid, it's going down and away from you, so that's the maximum distance. It can't just not go down and away from you like infinitely. It's necessitated by the geometry of the Earth in your model.
Okay, and this I would respect that if you were new to this and you didn't know about refraction, but I don't
Okay,
see
well,
why anybody would say that this is the maximum or this is what it's supposed to do absolutely, when we all know that refraction is going to change that. So it makes it a variable that's not included in that statement.
okay, so what you're saying is now based on the geometry, which you just try to chuck and jive with, but it is not negotiable, right? It's just the metrics. We're using these metrics based on your claim, your model, 3,959 miles, right? And so we get where the maximum distance because the geometry necessitates it. Okay, there'd be a tangible fall off in Earth at that point. Now you're claiming that refraction will change our perception of this, but you aren't claiming that the geometric horizon isn't there, right?
Yeah, no one's saying that there's not a geometric horizon. Sure there is. The thing is that when you're looking at something, you're not looking at the geometric horizon. You're looking at whatever the atmosphere is allowing you to see. So if the atmosphere is creating some optical effect of refraction, which we know of, and we hopefully all understand how it occurs, it curves the light. So the light's not making a straight path to your eye. The geometric principle that would give you a geometric horizon is a straight line from your eye. So you're not getting a straight line from your eye. You're getting some other location that's going to be perceived as the furthest distance you can see. And that's just the way it works. I mean, I can show you plenty of observations that are made from the same location, even in the course of a time lapse of one day, where the horizon is moving because you can't see it. It doesn't stay consistent.
Kosho.
The horizon's not consistent.
Kosho, I know you know this. It's called the Black Swan because if you say all swans are white and then you find a black swan, it disproves that all swans are white. You know this, so don't bring up white swans because that has no bearing whatsoever on the argument. And you know this. So we found the globe Earth's black swan. This is an impossibility on the geometry of Earth you claim. So if you're saying that isn't the case, you're going to need to explain this one specifically. We don't need there's no need to talk about white swans. We're talking about the black swan, right?
So talking about the horizon moving, but that's fine because this should
the horizon moves. The horizon moves, correct?
The horizon moves, which I don't. Then once you admit that, I don't see why you would agree with that premise that only QE has brought up. So when you say that there's all swans are white, here's a black swan, so that claim's false. Well, no one's claiming all swans are white. QE in capital letters and bold is claiming all swans are white. What the globe is claiming is that swans are white, but there are also different colored swans. That's our claim. And then you show us a black swan and say, "Oh, that's deproved. That's debunked."
No, you're not seeming to understand. You're not seeming to understand the analogy. The analogy what it is that if this one black swan exists, all swans aren't white. All swans are white is the claim of the Earth being a ball. The black swan of the Earth, of the globe Earth, is this image, this observation. So no, y'all have claimed for years that boats disappear over this physical horizon. Now that we have dismantled the physical horizon, y'all have backpaddled into where it doesn't even exist. So I need you to clarify your claim, man. Very, very simple.
So I will clarify it. That's no one has changed their argument. The horizon is still physical. No one's backpedaling because people always say that, but we've always said refraction. I've heard that since I've been in this 2 years ago. People always said refraction, but I'll make this more clear because I wasn't understood the first time. I won't use the analogy of black swans. I'll show how it's what the actual arguments are. So QE is stating, and like you said, I don't know if you can pull it back up where it says the horizon. Yeah, there you go. The Earth is a sphere with radius 3,959 miles. That premise I could say is true. It then says, because that premise, every horizon distance measure must be no more than. This is the part that is not true. This is the part that you cannot say we are claiming. We're not claiming that. QE is claiming. And so once you use that premise to then show a black swan or show that there's a horizon that is greater than that distance, that's not our claim is, here's what it should say. If the Earth is a sphere of 3959, given refractive phenomena, you'll have a range of possible distances. The horizon is going to be 1225, the square root of the observer's height. Yeah, right. And then added in with the refractive properties of the atmosphere. That you should get the distance to the horizon. That would be our claim. That's not at all what he says there is not at all what we claim.
Yeah, what your model necessitates is a maximum distance to the physical, tangible, geometric horizon.
Well, why? Where do you see that, and how can you
mean why? It's geometry, bro.
No, that's not geometry. But
okay.
You're saying that's only geometry, and you can't use refraction.
Present the argument free and clear. What we're going to do at this point is Whitsitt is going to present the argument, and then you may rebut the argument based off of the information given, meaning either the curve calculator, the mathematics that we're talking about, which is the geometric horizon, 8 inches per mile squared, or the argument of refraction, which really doesn't play a part in this, but I'll give you that one. Could you go ahead and present the modus tollens associated with the Black Swan?
Sure.
You'll have 5 minutes.
Okay. So very simply, modus tollens, if P then not Q, or if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height, meaning that the horizon would be at that distance. Is where you would first perceive the horizon. So they're not Q, therefore not P. Very simple, right? And then this is the actual observation. There's more than one, but we'll just use this one. So this was taken at 1 foot observer height, and then we actually gave 5 feet to the mathematical computing of the geometric horizon. So it aids it, but nevertheless, at 5 feet, the maximum geometric horizon distance is 2.73 miles, which means the geometric horizon can be anywhere between the observer and 2.73 miles based on the geometry of the Earth, the physical geometry of Earth. And so the maximum distance is 2.73 miles. In the image, we have an oil rig at 6 miles and at 9 miles. They are only relevant for frame of reference of distance. So we know that the horizon is at the least further than 9.4 miles. And so there is no visible geometric horizon under 3 miles necessitated by the geometry of the Earth, yet there is actually a horizon much further than that, proving the horizon is nothing more than an apparent horizon, an apparent location where the sky appears to meet the ground. It fluctuates based on atmospheric conditions, and there is no tangible physical geometric horizon that is consistent with the metrics imposed by the globe Earth. That's it. So
okay.
Kosho,
Right, so he only used 3 minutes on that presentation. You may rebut. You have 5 minutes. Go.
He used 3 minutes. It was like 30 seconds. But okay. Yeah, I mean, there's really not much else to say, but you said the same things you said a second ago. I just refuted why there's nothing at all besides Quantum Eraser, who's no authority at all on this. There's nothing that says that the maximum distance to the horizon is going to be the geometric horizon. There's nothing that equates those two anywhere at all. I challenge you to show me where it says that anywhere besides Quantum Eraser's, notes and Google Drive. So the fact that the geometric horizon is describing a tangent line from your eye, and just those who don't know, a tangent line is simply a line that's going to intersect a circle in one point only. And so, any given height that you are, any given height on a ball, on a sphere that's, estimated the size that the radius that we give, you can use the estimated radius to take the tangent line of your eye from any height and make a point on the ground and calculate that distance. And those distances, no matter what height you are fairly consistent, given that you include a range of variability due to refraction. Now, what refraction is simply light, which travels in a straight line, traveling through the different densities of atmosphere, different densities of mediums. And what that's going to do is it's going to change the direction of that light to where it's veered towards the more dense of the two mediums. So if it's going at an angle through two mediums, it's going to go slightly towards the more dense medium. And when you have a big distance, or an Earth that has a huge ocean of air and is traveling through this air, it's not going to be just one curve. It's going to be, it's going to be in some cases a big curve, or a lopsided line, or a line that's doing weird stuff. And that's because the atmosphere is not consistent in all places. And so what this would do is any location that's on the ground, if the horizon is, let's say it is 2.373 miles, given that he's 1 foot or 5 feet off the ground. None of that was measured, but if you, let's say that's true, it's 2.73 miles. Then the light that's from that location traveling a straight line to your eyes, this would be what you would expect on a globe without any atmosphere. With the atmosphere, a line that's being curved, the light can be coming from in front of this location. It can be coming from beyond this location. There's no limit. That's what I don't understand, why you would give the maximum distance when that's not the way that refraction works. It doesn't say only things up to this point are refracted, nothing beyond this point. So if there's any way that you can, show where it says that, I'd be happy to see that. I've changed I'd concede right now and change my whole idea of how refraction works. But the truth is, there's no reason it would work like that, and there's nothing that says it does. So I don't know what else to say.
Okay, so
you have a minute 21 left out of that 5 minutes to rebut what he's about to say. Go ahead, Witsit.
So very, very simply, you're sitting here conceding that the horizon that we perceive is nothing more than perception, an apparent location based on refraction and atmospheric conditions. But welcome to Flat Earth, Kosho, because that's what we say, and we've known this the whole time. Now, the reason that it is necessitated, and you're disputing it for some reason, is just the natural understanding of geometry. The radius, based on the circumference of 24,901 miles, you get the radius of 3959. Based on that, it necessitates a curvature, a drop in physical tangible land. So the tangibility of the literal land that has to drop down and away from you, that doesn't just disappear, right? So you're talking about refraction. So you're arguing the horizon is an optical illusion, and that's actually what Flat Earth stance is. The globe Earth stance is necessitated to be that there is a physical geometric horizon. This is not perceivable in the actual image. So if you are claiming if you're claiming or invoking refraction to explain it, you would have to bring some specificity to your claim. What type of refraction is causing this physical geometric horizon to disappear and shoot back over behind 9 miles? So you're the one that's claiming that.
Kosho?
Yeah, sorry, somebody was at the door. I heard you though. I just had to stop it for a second, but yeah. I heard you up until the very last thing you said about the apparent horizon, how somehow flat earthers have always been bringing up refraction and that it's apparent. I mean, I'm not going to use the word delusion, but that's pretty silly to me. This refraction has been brought up since the very beginning, since I've been in this. The fact that it's an apparent, it isn't the word horizon. It's a definition of the word. No one's now saying that you shouldn't see the actual, what you're seeing is the horizon. The horizon is the thing you see. So I don't understand why you guys keep saying that, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, geometry is going to tell you where the geometric horizon would be, the straight line from your eye. That's not disputed. What you guys are not allowing is that when you have something that's variable like the atmosphere, that's what's added after the geometric horizon is calculated. You calculate where the geometric horizon is, and then if you have all the data for all the temperatures and densities, then you can add in that refraction. But the truth is, you're more than likely just going to have to make multiple observations of the same location and see how it changes over time. I don't understand why the maximum distance thing. Like I don't think that has been addressed yet. But I don't understand why you guys say that there's a maximum distance that refraction will allow you to see. Like, if refraction changes where the horizon is, why wouldn't it change it further? Like, do you have anything that says that?
Well, bro, there's a very basic difference here, okay, in our connotation of horizon. The globe Earth says there's a physical horizon. Flat Earth does not say that. We know it fluctuates based on atmospheric conditions purely. That's all it is. It's an optical illusion. It's an apparent horizon. Of course, refraction and different atmospheric conditions are relative to the fluctuation of the horizon. That's all it is. It's an optical perception. You're claiming a physicality, a tangibility of a geometric horizon that's necessitated by the claim of an ellipsoid and the geometry within. So you're going to have to explain how in this image, the physical geometric horizon of your model isn't present. So you're going to have to explain how refraction explains it. Just saying a word isn't sufficient. We know refraction is relative to the fluctuation of the optical illusion that is the horizon. That's our stance. So you're basically sitting here conceding that the Earth is, or that the horizon is optical, but your model necessitates a physical horizon. So you're going to have to explain how it's not seen in the image, bro.
Sure. Optical things. If you see something optical, just because it's an optical experience doesn't mean that you're not seeing something that's physical. It is physical, but the observation of the distance to it is going to be you experiencing the light, which is going to come in at different rates. And so I've used fish and water before. I mean, there's all sorts of different examples that you can think of where, let's say you have a button, a bright red button at the bottom of a pool, and you have a fish in the pool, up closer to the surface. The position of the fish obstructing the button that's under the fish, it may not actually be a straight line from your eye to that button where the fish is. Because of refraction, the fish could be in a slightly different location and being refracted to made it look like there's a straight line between you, the fish, and the button. So I've went over how refraction works. It can easily cause something that's beyond the horizon to be obstructed. Something that's beyond the horizon to be lifted up and seen in front of the horizon. What I'm asking you is, in your model, you're saying that you guys already say that the horizon is an optical effect due to refraction. I've never heard that. I've heard that it could be adjusted because of refraction, but why do you have a horizon, and how is that due to refraction? How does refraction cause you guys to have a horizon? Because I'm curious about that.
It's a relevant
factor. Say what?
It's just a relevant factor to the perception of the horizon. Atmospheric conditions, refractive index, those all play a role in the optical illusion because that's what those things are, and play as factors in, right? So the horizon is just an apparent location where the Earth or the sky appears to meet the Earth, but not in your model, bro. There's a physical one. So you have to explain, man, it's very simple. You have to explain what type of refraction with specificity and the actual, prove how it's even feasible or viable postulation that this physical horizon is being moved over 6 miles.
Yeah, it's not that the horizon's moving over 6 miles. So the way refraction works, I'll state once again, is that the location on the ground that you're looking at, the straight line from that to where it's supposed to go, if it's beyond where the physical geometric horizon would be, that straight line would be going up above the curve that's in between you and the object and going above your head. This would be the straight line. What refraction would do is it causes that light to curve. So light that's going above the curve, above your head, can now curve downwards over the curve into your eye, causing you to see it, which is going to cause you to see something further or closer, depending on how far that light is. And what I asked you was, what causes the horizon in your model because in our model, that's how I'm showing you curvature, this horizon that blocks objects as tall as buildings, ships, whatever you want to, mountains. I'm asking you, what causes the horizon in your model? What causes something to block out ships or block out the Empire State Building or Mount Everest or any of these things?
Okay, limit of perspective, and it has a variance of factors, including atmospheric conditions and the refractive index, etc. We discussed this. Limit of perspective, it's an apparent location. Now, you cannot claim that things cause obstruction due to physicality if you're now saying that we don't see the geometric physical horizon in this image, which is hence the name Black Swan, bro. So are you conceding? Do you concede that there isn't a visible geometric horizon under 3 miles in this image?
If you call that a concession, I will say that you're silly. I will agree with hold on, because the words that you just stated are silly. And anyone who knows better would know that that means you don't understand what you're talking about. You don't see a visual geometric horizon. Yeah, that wasn't an ad-hom. That wasn't an ad-hom. What he's saying is foolish.
No name calling.
Okay, I won't call him any names, but what he's saying is foolish. This is the truth. You don't see an optical or visual geometric horizon. That term in itself is contradictory.
I never said that.
The geometric horizon and the horizon that you see are not the same thing. So there are two terms giving you a distinction of the things you're talking about. So the geometric horizon is that straight line, but you don't see that way. So the horizon you see is not going to be called the geometric horizon. So there's no point in saying
do you ever see the geometric horizon?
Refer to the thing I just been saying for the past minute. That term in itself, like describing it like that, it sounds silly because it's made, that distinction is made for that reason. The horizon is a visual thing. The geometric horizon is a calculated distance, despite what it's actually before you would even calculate the refraction or anything. So you're not expected to see that. So there's no
question was, is the horizon or the geometric horizon a physical place?
The geometric horizon, yes, is a physical place. It's not something that you see, though. It's not the horizon that you see. The position of the geometric horizon you could see where that is, but it's not going to be something that you're going to have any reference to. So that's why it's such a weird thing to describe. The geometric horizon is not describing something you see. So to say, when do you see the geometric horizon? Answering that question is silly. The geometric horizon is something different than the horizon. It's literally not. It's literally describing it in a case of you not seeing it. It's a mathematical sense of a straight line. The thing you see is the visual cutoff of where the sky meets the ground. But I mean, you said something about perception a second ago, but perception has specific rules, and none of those rules say that the top part of a building is going to be seen perfectly and the bottom part can't. And I'll describe, if you have a building that's 1,000 feet tall, then it should decrease in angular size as the distance doubles. It should decrease half in the angular size. And that should be the entire building that's doing this. So if a building is so far away that it's decreased in angular size due to perspective to the point where you can't see it, that wouldn't mean that only the bottom of the building this is happening to. That would mean even the top part of the building is now subjected to the same perspective. So any of these images where you can see the top part of something clearly and the bottom part obstructed, every single one of those is evidence that that's not what's occurring. And that's why I'm asking what causes it, but you're not being specific. So I don't know how to address other than to explain what perspective actually is.
Okay. Now again, I said that due to limit of perspective, we get a horizon, And what it is the sky appears to meet the ground. It's based on your observer height and a variance of factors, including atmospheric conditions, et cetera, because the entire thing is an optical illusion. Apparent horizon is actually redundant. Now, that is my stance. That's what all observation coincides with. Your claim is that there's a physical horizon. You've conceded that it's a physical place, but then you've said, and you've just started double speaking, saying it's a physical place, but we don't ever see it. We're not expected to see it, but it's a physical place. Well, it's a physical place that has to be there, and it can only slightly fluctuate when it comes to what we perceive, and you're invoking refraction without any form of specificity. So in the image that I presented, which is yet to be addressed, what type of refraction is causing that physical place to be lifted up and moved back 7 miles, or are you claiming that we never see the geometric horizon?
You're making the same mistake you made a second ago, man. But if you're going to talk about seeing something, there's no reason to talk about seeing the geometric horizon. If you're going to say, why don't we see the horizon? You do see the horizon in that picture. Okay, you see the horizon. What type of refraction is it? That's really not important, but it's looming. But it's not important because I just discussed exactly what refraction was, which is how it occurs in every case. So it doesn't matter what type of refraction it is. All that matters is that it's not making a straight line anymore because of refraction. And because it's not making a straight line, there's not limited to a direction from the geometric horizon. It can be shortened and not seen, or it can be beyond it and seen. You can see further. So there's not a limit in one direction why you can see it. You're admitting that, or you're claiming that you guys have always said refraction, and we're for the first time now saying that it's optical, which is again. Anyway, yeah. So you're saying this, but then you're not allowing refraction to be happening. Like you're saying, yeah, we say it's that's just the most fun. But yeah, you're saying that it's refraction. You guys have always said this, but when I say refraction is what allows it to be not in this location, you're saying no, it's meant to be in this location, or at least in front of it. But you're saying it's refraction, so I don't understand why how it goes both ways for you. But for me, refraction is obviously causing this optical phenomena. Refraction added on to where the geometric location should be. And this is consistent with any observation, any height from any observation. There's going to be a range of where you can see because of refraction, but it still is within that range from an airplane or from a mountaintop or from whatever. The horizon is always within an appropriate range of where the geometric horizon is. So, I mean, to say that I'm saying that it's physical because the horizon is physical. You see the horizon, you see a physical horizon. The geometric horizon is a different location that you don't see, but it's also physical. So that to say that's not double speak. You have a distinction when you speak. I'm telling you that there's a distinction between these two things.
Okay, Kosho, I'm asking, bro, what you're not seeming to understand. We know that the horizon isn't a real location. Your model claimed that it is. You're sitting here claiming that it is, but you're claiming that refraction is changing this physical location. You're going to have to provide some specificity as to what type of refraction and how that's even possible, or any form of experiment to show that it could lift a physical horizon and leave. It's very simple. Your model necessitates a physical horizon. It necessitates that. It isn't debatable. Okay, so either you're just going to have to concede that we never see the geometric horizon and that it isn't physical place, or you're going to have to give me some type of explanation as to how it is. Now, you're going to respond again and say, I've already responded. No, you haven't. It's a very simple question. Your model necessitates the physical geometric horizon. We have provided for you, an observation that shows that based on geometry and what it necessitates, it isn't there. It isn't a physical horizon there. So it's very simple. We know that the horizon fluctuates because it's optical. It isn't an actual place. It's apparent. Your model definitively necessitates a physical place. You're saying you can never see the physical geometric horizon unless it's consistent with your, presupposition of sphericity. And you just said the geometric horizon, and I quote, is nothing more than math. Yeah, we know.
It's not a quote, man. I didn't say that.
Until his time is up before you speak. He needs to concede his point before you move on.
Yeah, and I was pretty much that's my point. Is you're going to have to address exactly where it is, bro, because your model claims a physical horizon. Y'all claimed it for years, man, and we all know it. You said that's what boats go disappear over for years. Now you're saying you don't see it. It's not actually physical. It's just math. That's what you said, and so there is a physical horizon there in your model, but we never see it. So are you saying that we never see the physical geometric horizon? Or are you saying the geometric horizon isn't physical? What exactly are you saying? Don't just say the word refraction void of specificity. That isn't a valid response.
Yeah, I agree. That wouldn't be a valid response. If I sat here, excuse my language, if I fucking said refraction instead of just saying explain it how it worked and explain the distinction between the two horizons, I would agree that that would not be a valid response. I'm going to go ahead and assume from this point forward that you actually don't understand any of this, because I thought that maybe you did. Refraction, I don't think you understand, because I've just explained it, and you're still claiming these things about it that are not in any way true. I've told you the type of refraction that it is, and I've told you how refraction works in every single case. Okay? Now I'm going to have to assume that you also don't understand how eyes work or light. Eyes work as an antenna that pick up the light and read the light as it's entering to your eyes. If you're looking at something as the light's entering your eyes, you're going to see this. You're going to see this object. If there's a hill, a hump of earth in front of something that you can't see anymore, then you're not going to see that thing. But if refraction causes light to make curved lines so that this object that's beyond the curve can curve down into your eye where the more dense medium is, you can then see that thing again. Okay? The distinction once more, because you're still claiming that there's some confusion between the physicality. But the horizon's a physical location. The geometric horizon is a physical location that you're not expected to see. Okay? It's not defining something that you see. It's explaining a straight line from the observer's eye to the location. If light traveled in a straight line, then it would be something you'd expect to see. Because it curves due to refraction, the actual horizon is going to be the refracted horizon. And maybe with other variables, but usually just a geometric horizon with refraction, refractive properties added to it. Now, looming would be the specific type of refraction, but again, that's not important whenever you understand what refraction actually is, and that it's just the curving of the light that's entering into your eye. Okay, so if you want to know the exact details of how that would work, a rig that's 9 miles away and a horizon that's 3 miles from you, the light is going to be traveling in a line that's going to cause it to want to go above the hump, like I've told you already. And because of refraction, it's going to curve downwards into the lower and into the lower part in front of that hump into your eye, and you're going to see it. So again, these things have already been said, and what I don't understand is why you're saying that just people are just saying refraction. This is just how all this stuff works.
Okay. I know you're getting triggered, man, but just stay calm, bro. It's just conversation. Okay. Dude, it is getting circular. I agree, because you're double speaking. You just now said it's a physical place that we're not expected to see. Can you see physical things?
What did I say was a physical place that you don't expect to see?
The geometric horizon, yeah, it's a physical place, but we're not expected to see it.
Why? And why did I say you're not expected to see it?
You said because of refraction and looming, but that doesn't even matter.
I said because that's not even how the word is defined. It's defined as it's not defining something you expect to see. That's what I told you.
So
it's defining a straight line from your eye to the earth.
Can you see physical things, Kosho?
Say again? Can
you see something that's physical?
Yeah, sure. You can see something that's physical. You can see the geometric horizon. You're not going to be able to denote it by anything because there's going to be a horizon that's further than that, which is going to be the geometric one. So you're not. This is like that's why it's a silly thing to ask. You're not expected to see that. It's not explaining something that is an observation. It's explaining where the straight line would be from your eye to the surface of the earth. That's it.
Kosho, why are you not expected to see it if it's where the Earth goes down and away from you?
Okay, so if you're looking at a football field and you're at one end zone, and let's say your horizon is supposed to be at the 50-yard line, this is the straight line from your eye to that point. That's where the horizon. That's where the geometric horizon is. That's what the straight line is. That means everything beyond that would curve away. But because we live in the Earth, the atmosphere allows you to see to the 70th yard line. Now you're looking at the football field. The horizon's at the 70-yard line. You can see the 50-yard line. You can see where the geometric horizon is. Yet you have no way of perceiving that. It's not. That's why it's such a silly thing to say that you when do you see this? Why would you see this? Because it's not something that you can't denote it by an observation. It's not an optical. It's not an observable term. It literally says the tangent line from your eye to the surface of the Earth. The one that you see is going to be the one that is added when you add in refractive properties.
All right, man. Yeah, obviously you're just not going to concede any. It's okay.
Here's what I'll do. I'm going to read it right now, okay? Just so that you can understand it for the first time, I think. This is from QE's, and you can maybe I'll share my screen.
I have a request that you refrain from talking about his intellect. Just stick to, if you want to present a definition or some evidence, just say that instead of saying so you can understand it. It's condescending in nature. Go ahead.
Sure. And I feel it's disrespectful in nature when I have to say something not just once or twice. But
Kosho, let me just stop this real fast.
Have said that. I haven't said it yet.
Kosho, yeah. I've asked you for specificity of what type of refraction could ever cause a physical geometric horizon to be lifted up and moved over 7 miles. You have consistently shucked and jived and diverted away from that.
Please let me share my screen so I can show you what you're asking for.
Sure, share the screen.
Let me hold on one second. So 2 monitors. Yeah, because I got 2 monitors, so I'm just gonna make sure it's pulling up the right one. Okay. All right, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay, this is a quantum eraser. He had posted this. I've seen it before that, but I just want you to know this is the same source that
another request. Please refrain from using any other flat earthers, etc. names in this, and just present the evidence. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, that's a really weird thing to bring up, but okay. Well, this is we're gonna keep him anonymous, but he's somebody.
Black Swan.
So he uses this link as his description of refraction. It's not consistent with another description, but we're not going to go there. So in this description, it says no refraction, but let's go ahead and see what it says. It says without refraction, the matter is very simple. Here's the diagram. Here's the observer where the O is. Here's the tangent line to where the horizon should be. It tells you how to calculate it. It says the astronomical horizon, which is not there, would be this line. It says is going through line O, perpendicular to the Earth, but the observer's apparent horizon is dash OG. It would say here, but then it says, hold on. It says the point G is the geometric horizon. So the one calculated without refraction. So this is the Earth without refraction, the geometric horizon. Here's the equation for it. Here's what you do. Now, when you put in refraction, considered simply, and they use a shorthand, the 76R, as you've heard, or there's ways to get to that, even though that's not for any reason a rule. That's just a consistent average, over over a fair atmosphere. It shows you that indeed here's the G where the refraction without refraction allowed you to have a straight line. Here's the light curving up over that position and into the observer's eye. So this is explained explicitly in these pictures with these equations. Nowhere does it say that because the horizon was here before, that means that it can never be beyond that. When something curves, it can literally curve. I don't see why. Like, if you're going to say refraction happens, I don't understand why you would say that it has a limit to how far, or how it would have a limit due to the geometric horizon, and it can't go beyond that. The fact that there is refraction would claim that it can actually go beyond it or in front of it. So what you're saying is not consistent whatsoever. And again, when it comes to your idea of what the horizon is, saying it's just perspective is not. It doesn't settle the problem. I mean, I've explained why it doesn't. So if you could go over that once more, or tell me what problems you have with this, that'd be great. But this is exactly showing that the horizon can be seen beyond the geometric horizon, which is not the place that you're going to expect to see.
Okay. Yeah, man. Again, you're kind of diluting the conversation, man. But and it's getting real circular. I think everyone that's watched it has heard the flaw, in my opinion. So very simply, you're claiming that the Earth, or that even though the geometric horizon is a physical place, you don't see it. And then you're invoking refraction, just the singular word that you think just explains everything away. And I'm asking for specificity. Can you provide any form of observation or experiment to show exactly how something of that drastic of a change in optical perception could ever be accomplished? You haven't done that. You've just showed me that you just keep on saying the same thing. Well, refraction, the way refraction works, like I don't understand the way refraction works. You're just explaining this word, and somehow that removes the need for you to adequately explain how we don't ever see the physical horizon. So if we don't ever see the physical horizon, it's very simply because it isn't there, and the horizon is nothing more than an optical illusion, an apparent horizon being redundant where the sky appears to meet the ground. It fluctuates based on the conditions of the atmosphere that we are perceiving the horizon through. You're claiming physical horizon. This is getting very redundant, but you're saying that, yeah, it's a physical location, but we don't ever see it. And that refraction, even though I can't explain how or show some experiment that this could ever be replicated in, I promise it's lifting this physical horizon up due to looming, which is relative to the horizon, by the way, lifting the horizon back 7 miles. So until you can provide some kind of specificity, the word refraction doesn't change anything. The physical horizon necessitated by the radius of your globe religion has been dismantled and removed from you because it doesn't ever show itself to be consistent. The horizon fluctuates. So that it necessitates the physicality means that you could see it, obviously. You're saying you can't see physical things, and that it would just move, I promise, based on refraction without void of any specificity or observation that could ever even substantiate the postulation that's possible based on this mystical, magical word you keep bringing up. So that's my point. And if you go on another big, long monologue not answering that, that isn't going to accomplish anything. So it's very simple. You have to provide specificity for your claim. You haven't done so yet. You still haven't. And you said looming one time. It was like pulling teeth to even get you to name a certain type of refraction. And then you didn't formulate any specificity. You said, in fact, but that doesn't actually matter. So it's very simple, man. The geometric horizon is the physical location necessitated by the claimed radius of 3,959 miles. If you cannot substantiate that there is a physical place there based on that necessitation of the geometry of the Earth, then it therefore refutes that it's there. We're seeing way too far, and there has to be a physical location beforehand. So until you can provide some specificity how it's even feasible that this is being lifted up and taken out of view and then brought way back, and we don't ever see the physical geometric horizon, then that's, whether you want to admit it or not, I know it's going to trigger you, that's basically a concession. So until you can provide specificity, I'm going to rest my case on this one, because I think that we're going just in circles, and then you're just talking in very vague language, pretending that somehow you're schooling me here. So yeah, and can you provide some specificity, or we're just going to have to move on?
Yeah, I wouldn't consider this schooling at all. If it were, I would say that it's not. You're not somebody that can be disciplined because you're not learning anything, especially the things I'm saying. You're claiming that I'm saying that there's. I said looming one time. I said it 5 times just because you keep asking for the type. I explained refraction explicitly. Explained explicitly how it would occur in your example. Explicitly how it would happen. Not just saying the word refraction. I told you how the refraction would occur. Okay? I don't understand why you keep claiming that I won't get in. I just told you how it happens there. You asked for examples of this occurring. If you can see my screen, I'm showing you an example where the horizon is changing in this day I can show you pictures where it changes drastically over days, you know, in many different places all the time. So I don't understand what you're claiming hasn't been provided to you. I can tell you what hasn't been provided to me, and that's exactly what causes the horizon in your example. You said it was perspective. When I gave you the refutal to it, you didn't respond to that. So I'm still curious, and if you can be honest with your audience and be honest with me, what is it that you need to know about refraction that would cause this thing that I'm not explaining to you? Because I've told you exactly how it would happen. I'm not gonna say it again without you asking me specifically what does you want me to explain, because I've already said how it would go from the distance beyond the horizon into your eye. I've showed you the diagram and the explanation for it. Honestly, at this point, you'd have to be specific in what you don't have.
Yes, an empirical replication of the extremity of change of perception that you are invoking right now based on refraction. There had to be some replication of it. And you're showing this GIF right here. I have it on screen where, yes, of course, the horizon fluctuates. That is perfectly consistent with our postulation that the horizon is nothing more than an apparent location. Of course, it fluctuates. It always does that. We know that it's just an apparent location. It's relative to variance of factors. You're claiming there's a physical one there, but we just never see it and it changes. So you'll have to provide some form of explanation, even though looming is actually relative to the horizon. It's looming something relative to the horizon. You're claiming the horizon itself is being loomed, and you're claiming an extremity of looming and refraction. So you would have to back that up with some form of replication that's even feasible that much could take place. And again, looming is relative to the horizon. So you're basically just saying that the horizon changing somehow works with you, but it doesn't. We know it's just an apparent location. This is getting extremely redundant, but if you can provide some form of replication to back up your claim of specificity of the metrics required of the percentage of the looming that would need to take place, even though it is relative to the horizon, then that would be one thing. You just saying it and pretending I don't understand it, I mean, I'm just going to leave that up to the third-party viewer to understand that you're not, it doesn't matter. The geometric horizon is a physical location. If we do not see it ever, then that you can't say that it's there until we can prove that it's there. You do see physical places, and until you can prove that it can even be that drastic or extreme of a situation due to our perception of where the physical horizon should be, then you just saying it doesn't mean anything.
Okay. So no one's saying it's not physical. I've said the entire time, these are physical places. Now, I'm not telling you that you can't see the geometric horizon because it's not physical. That's not something I've said. I've said directly.
I didn't say you stop right there, Coach. I didn't say that. I didn't say that, bro. I said you're saying that it's a physical place, but we can't see it. That's what
I said that it's a physical place that you would never expect to see. It's not described by something you're looking at. That's why it's a silly. That's why it's odd even talking about it. Okay. I gave you the example of the football field, and in the example you saw, where you're seeing the horizon, it's further than the geometric horizon. Obvious point horizon is there, but there's nothing to tell you that that's the horizon because it's not the position that's where the sky meets the ground. It's just a silly thing to talk about seeing the geometric horizon. When you're talking about seeing something, you're talking about the horizon that you see. So they're both
a physical place that you don't expect to see. Is that correct?
It's not described by something you're seeing. Yes, I've said that several times.
Right. It just doesn't make sense. A physical place you don't expect to see. So in my opinion, we can just move on. I think this has been pretty thorough. Do you agree?
If you think so, you haven't addressed any of my questions. You've just kind of claimed that you didn't listen to me or something like that. But here's another ship going over your horizon states due to perspective. The ship is disappearing where you can't see any of the levels, and you see just the smokestack, the same size the whole time. I'm curious, again, how your idea of perspective allows this to happen.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways that we've actually replicated things like that. We take a little boat out onto a lake. Refractive index is relevant to your perception of whatever you see, proportionate or relative to the horizon. It's just all perception. It changes. Will that boat do the same thing the next day, Kosho? No, of course not, because it's all relative to the atmospheric conditions. It fluctuates. That's our stance. Welcome to flat Earth. That's what we know. So
I want you to be specific about this boat.
Okay. What do you
have
what
specifications for
I can give you the size of the ship and all that, sure. But I don't think that will be needed. But I can give you the size.
What's the distance to the ship?
The distance to the ship?
Yeah.
I think from the video, it's got it in there. I mean, I can pull it up. But again, I'm going to want to know why this is relevant because I'm not going to
need to know the distance and the observer height and the atmospheric conditions and the refractive index to even be able to adequately assess it. And very simply, we know that things are altered based on the way that we perceive them because of atmospheric conditions and a variance of factors. This is the 10th time I've said it. Again, so welcome to Flat Earth. If all you've got to say is that things fluctuate.
You're Flat Earth.
What?
Give me the conditions and the details on what would cause this. I'm telling you that this is impossible on Flat Earth. I could find the details. I could tell you that none of the details that I would be able to provide to you would give you the ability to say, oh, well, this is occurring for this or this reason. I'm telling you on a flat Earth, when the horizon is obstructing, I mean, when the ship is being disappearing from the bottom up, what is causing that to happen? What's causing this observation to happen? I went over the things with you that you claimed I didn't. So I'm asking you to go over with me what would cause this. What would cause this to disappear?
It's very simple. You're postulating a supposed explanation of the geometric physical curve of Earth. And so you're going to have to provide specificity of metrics to postulate your claim. You just showing me a video saying it's impossible means nothing. We don't even know the observer height, the relevant distance, or the atmospheric conditions. This is your postulation, so it requires you to postulate specificity. And very simply, again, we know that things always fluctuate. Will this boat do the same thing the next day? No, because the conditions will be different. So again, this doesn't help your case. Now you're trying to say that somehow this is disappearing because of the physical curve of the Earth. I thought that physical curve of the Earth we weren't expected to see.
Dude, you're saying such silly things, man. The physical curve of the Earth. No one said you're not expected to see the physical curve of the Earth, man. Like this tells me that you're not paying attention, or tells me that there's something. Either you're purposely doing this, or
something. You just said that 10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's
what I'm saying. That he's not listening or paying attention is null.
I think you can't see the physical curve of the Earth.
He's asking you to provide the specifications for that footage that you showed. Because we're presenting that as evidence or proof of the geometric horizon, which you're disputing is as being able to see. Do you have the specifications for the video that you showed so that he can rebuttal what you're presenting?
You've just told the audience that I said that, Sassy. So you're saying that I said you can't see the physical curve of the Earth.
We can rewind it at another time, but you can review the tape later. This is exactly what you said.
No, it's not exactly what I said. I said you don't expect to see the geometric horizon.
I'm not arguing because I'm not debating. I'm just asking you for clarification of the.
You guys are dishonest, man.
Video that you presented so that we can move the discussion forward. So if you could provide what Whitsitt's asked for, we can look at what you presented and discuss that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying to you. I can search for this and waste the time of your audience if you'd like. Or you could tell me what conditions would allow this. I'm telling you it's impossible on your idea of the Earth. Impossible.
You can't make that claim with us.
You can tell me any height or any distance or any whatever you want. And I can tell you that no matter what those heights and distances are, this is impossible. I'm telling you this so your audience knows.
Have that. We're going to move on to something else. Do you have anything else that we needed to discuss regarding the Black Swan argument?
We're not talking about the Black Swan. We're talking about this ship now. We talked about the Black Swan.
Well, we're moving forward from that because you don't have the information.
So let me ask you this. He can ask me for specifics about how something would work whenever he shows me a picture. But when I'm showing him something, he can't ask me, he can't give me specifics on how this could occur.
It was presented to you, all the evidence surrounding the Black Swan argument, and you had a discussion on that. So you were asked for specification, and you presented the boat that was just going over the horizon. So he asked you for the specs on that so that he could form a defense to counterclaim what you were presenting. If you're not able to do that, then we need to move forward. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So even though I've already told you why he would not need that, I could see that you're just here to back him up. Here's another
No,
picture.
I'm not.
Here's another
I'm
picture. I
being
do have the details
unbiased
for.
because I'm
That's
giving you
fine.
the
You don't have to
same
defend
amount
yourself,
of.
Sassy. I'm moving this forward. Here's another
Come again?
picture. I have the details for it. If he wants that, he can
Okay,
have it.
go
So
for it.
explain it using this picture then.
Explain what?
The same exact thing that was just happening with the ship. The same thing that you tried to run from a second ago.
No, the horizon.
The details for it. Here's the details for this, man. They're at the top of the screen.
39 miles. Yeah. Okay. Now, what we all know, Kosho, and you do too. So you're just being blatantly dishonest with this postulation here. If I go back the next day, it won't be the same. If I go back 10 days later, it won't be the same. It's all based on atmospheric conditions. So based on the atmospheric conditions and the observer height, which isn't presented actually, all you have is the distance. But based on the observer height and the distance, then you can understand where the horizon is based on atmospheric conditions. It's very simple. Your perception is relative to the humidity in the air and a variance of factors. This is getting redundant. So this fluctuates.
That doesn't answer my question.
Kosho, can I finish?
Do you understand? Repeat my question first before you start.
Do not interrupt. He has 3 minutes to answer to this what you presented. You can rebut after he gets done presenting what he's saying. Don't interrupt.
By answering the question then.
Kosho, I'm trying to answer the question. This isn't proof of curvature.
How is that possible? That's the question.
Yeah.
Can you please stop interrupting, Kosho?
Yes.
Wait your turn.
The way it's possible is because of the atmospheric conditions, and therefore it changes your perception of the location of whatever you're looking at in the distance. And again, this would change and fluctuate day to day to day to day. And we all know this. This is the whole entire purpose of the analogy of the black and white swan. So we know the horizon is an apparent location. It's changing based on atmospheric conditions. All you've done is give the distance and taken one cherry-picked observation that shows where it looks like some of it's hidden. And that's not how it works, because if in a week we can see it, bro, then it's just proving that it's actually all an illusion. It's an apparent horizon. So you're sitting here saying that we'll never see the physical horizon, but then you're presenting horizons as somehow proof of curvature. It is literally doublespeak. You're contradicting yourself. So how is it possible on it? Well, based on the atmospheric conditions that aren't provided here, nor is the observer height at 39 miles with certain conditions, part of it will appear to be loomed up. We will have the horizon rise in our perception. Quite simple. So it would change day to day to day, fluctuate based on the fact it is an optical illusion.
Yeah, this is at sea level. It's 39 miles. The building is 1,800 feet tall. So here's the question, because I'm not going to get triggered by you, but you're either purposely obfuscating or there's something else that I've been told I'm not allowed to say. But there's something going on where I'm asking you a question and you're telling me that it's the refraction, or you need to tell me how there's a building that's 1,800 feet tall. Half of the building, 900 feet of the building, is seen. You can physically see it in the same dimensions it would be. It doesn't matter if the next day the horizon is closer or further, which on the globe Earth, which just allows you to see more. My question is, what causes this cutoff at all? What causes it on a flat plane? Why would the building be halfway cut off where you can't see the bottom half of a very big building, where you can see the top half of it, and it's just stretching out? You see how much it's stretching out. There's no reason for the Earth to be cut off at some distance where you can only see this much of the ground because of anything on a flat Earth. The ground is not going to cover something up. Let me give you another rule of perspective that maybe you're not aware of, but a rule of perspective is if something is below your eye line, you're not going to be able to obstruct anything at all that's above your eye line. So please, without saying, oh, I've said this before, or anything else at all, explain to a kindergartner how this can occur, how half the building can be cut off when on a flat plane.
Okay, I already did. So the horizon fluctuates based on a variance of conditions. One of the ways that it fluctuates.
Don't interrupt, please.
He's
answering the same way. He's not answering the question.
Because
Kosho, you've had your 3 minutes, and it's his turn to respond. You can respond after. This is
He's
my
just going to
statement.
waste his time. And then
Okay, Kosho, here's the deal. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're saying right now. Listen, man, if this observation isn't consistent, it proves it fluctuates due to perception and a variance of factors. Since you want to say that isn't sufficient, that doesn't actually change anything.
Not a question. The cause is the cause. Please understand that. Please repeat back to me. That's the question.
Okay, if we
how is
stand
it
at the
changing?
end of a listen, man. If we stand at the end of a really long hallway, it will appear that the ceiling and the floor are converging in on each other because we've reached a limit of perspective. That plays into the factors of what we've discussed 37 times now, which is also the atmospheric conditions.
What perspective I just said? I just told you that they converge at the same point, your vanishing point. That means that something below your eye line is not going to obstruct something above your eye line. It's true they converge to the same point. That doesn't mean that the ground is going to overtake the sky. That's the problem here. And that's what I'm asking you, how it occurs.
No, Kosho, it doesn't overtake the sky. It just rises up some based on the conditions. If it fluctuates constantly, all that is actually proof of, from my side, which is that it is purely optical and it changes day to day fluctuation. There's nothing to do with the physical geometric place. So my answer isn't going to change. You can say it's insufficient. That's your opinion. We'll let the third party viewer, make their decision. So we've talked about curvature for a while. Is this the only proof of curvature you have, Kosho?
You just you keep invoking perspective. You clearly don't understand perspective. I just told you the main rule of it. You just said that they converge to the same point. They converge to the same point. That means that the ground, something below that point, something that's below that convergent point is not going to come up above that point and obstruct something above it. In this picture, in this image, the water would be below your eye line. It would be converging to some distance. The building, any point on it, would be above your eye line. They would just be converging at some point. They wouldn't be you wouldn't see it so that the water is now above that point where the building was. Like, this is not something that you would expect at all on a flat plane.
Okay, that's your opinion. If we're low to the ground, if we're low to the ground, we are going to perceive the horizon differently based on our observer height. You said this was at sea level, so if it's real low to the ground, then yes, the convergence will be more drastic due to the angular resolution, right? So we're going to actually see it from a lower perspective, and then that's going to cause it to rise and converge, as all things do with distance, right? And then we factor in a variance of other factors. So it's very simple, and anyone that's being honest and watching this understands what I'm saying. This is not proof of curvature of this magic ball Earth because it fluctuates daily based on a variance of factors. And you haven't even, really provided all the metrics, but even without that, if it fluctuates day to day, it isn't a physical, tangible, reoccurring, specific curve of Earth necessitated by the imposed radius. It's very simple. So all this is doing is proving that the horizon moves based on the way that we perceive it and the conditions said 100 times now. So it's getting super circular, and you can say that I don't understand it, but I'm going to leave it up to the third-party viewer. So do you have another postulation of curvature, or would you like to move on to the third and final topic? Because we've been
you're not going to admit that you're dishonest. You're not going to admit you don't understand it. You're not going to admit that it's not current that way. So I'm not going to push that anymore, because
I've already told you several times. He's asked you a question. Are we done with curvature?
I understand the question. I understand the question, Sassy. And you know what? There's no need for you to jump in and do that anymore.
I'm the moderator.
Honestly, I feel like we can have this conversation one-on-one, because you're not in any way moderating this in a way that's
conversation one-on-one because you're not listening.
I'll go and ask him a question.
On that topic. Do you understand my statement? Repeat it back if you didn't, and I'll clarify.
Well, I was talking, so of course I didn't hear you.
Beyond curvature, do you have something else to present for curvature? If not, we'll move on to
I'm gonna make my closing statement. I'm gonna make my closing statement on the curvature. In no way have you addressed anything that I put forward. You just claiming that refraction changes it. I've went over how refraction changes that. So yeah, of course refraction changes. I'm asking you what causes it, right? And you just said that again, that they converge to the same point. You understand converge means that they head towards the same point. It doesn't mean that one will go past the other one. So anyone who understands this stuff, this is not news to them. Anyone who doesn't, I suggest that you don't take anything you're learning from this to heart. Look it up and look this stuff up. And nothing that has been said on his side has been true or correct. And for other observations of curvature, yeah, there's the fact that the horizon drops when you raise elevation, given the same equation, the same curvature of the Earth. So, and something else you keep stating is that the radius of the Earth dictates that they would be consistent day after day. This, what are you talking about? It's not. It does not dictate anything. It tells you where it would be without refraction. Refraction tells you that it's variable each day.
Okay.
So there's nothing about dictating whether it be the same every day. That's what I'm saying about the dishonesty thing.
Well, no, it would be same
you're
within
not
a
gonna
small window of error. But it's cool, dude. We've already discussed it, man. You want to make a broad, vague recollection of the conversation as if it's somehow going to proclaim your victory. I'm going to leave it up to the third party.
So we're going to move forward.
Okay, cool, ad hom. So we'll move on now. So
if you think that's an ad hom, that's silly. That's a true statement.
Okay.
True statement. That's very.
That's your opinion. But we're not focusing on opinions right now. We're focusing on the information. So we're closing the argument of curvature right now, and we're moving to the third argument.
Right. So, Kosho, based on all observable phenomena, anytime that we have gas pressure anywhere, the necessary antecedent is physical containment. As you know, we have gas in the atmosphere, so save the atmospheric pressure is different. We understand that's begging questioning, but there is gas pressure on Earth in the atmosphere, and any other time that we have gas pressure, the necessary antecedent is a physical container. So can you provide some form of evidence that would substantiate the fact that gas pressure can exist without physical containment?
Yeah, this is I already know where this is going to go. It's going to go the same as the last part of this thing, but I'll continue anyways. It's pretty obvious that everything is compelled towards the Earth. Every single thing, even helium balloons, even birds and butterflies. All these things, they have principles which allow them to, in a medium, be compelled upwards seemingly, but in reality, they're just being compelled downwards at a different rate to where the medium is displacing them. Or in the case of a butterfly, physically doing work constantly, eating bugs and all this stuff to get energy so it can fly. So it has to work against gravity. Either way, that includes water, that includes sand, and that includes air. Every single thing is being compelled downwards. So what you end up happening is you'll see in the ocean, the bottom of the ocean is 15,000 psi, and it increases in pressure at a consistent rate, starting with I think every 10 meters it raises in 15 psi, and this happens all the way down, and that's due to the weight of the water above it. Same way in a pool, the weight of the water will give pressure to the water below. This is something even you, I think, could understand.
Good one.
The atmosphere is an ocean of air. It's going to behave the same way the ocean of water does, where the weight of the air above the air that you're measuring is going to have pressure due to that weight. And Torricelli proved this. It's even Galileo, who people at the time didn't believe that air had weight, but Torricelli proved this beyond the shadow of a doubt, and we still use his tool and many other tools to measure this. So I don't see why there's any reason to invoke anything like a container when a container is not necessary at all.
Okay, so you just begged the question of the nature of the Earth. I'm asking you, do you have any experiment or observation that can, other than invoking the nature of the Earth and begging the question, where we can have gas pressure without physical containment? You just went on this big long spiel, not answering the question. So do you have any experiment void of begging the question of the nature of the Earth, or is that the only anomaly to the rule?
I've just explained to you how it was, how it happens and how it occurs, how the first person had proven it. I can go over how he did it, and
Kosho, real fast, man. Real fast.
I can go over how he did it, since you want me to be specific about a barometer, what it is. I'm sorry that you weren't taught this before, but a barometer is a measurement of pressure. What it is
I've asked you several times not to
Yeah,
insult the person.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm sorry if that's an insult, but the truth is he hasn't been taught this. He doesn't know it because he's asking it to me.
Can you only speak
That's
to what the argument is? Leave
Yes,
the
I
rest
am,
behind.
Sassy. I'm attempting to now.
Okay.
And you're not necessary here. Because all you're doing is co-signing him, and that's exactly what I was trying to avoid by having a neutral moderator.
You're doing too much right now. It's a debate.
No, I think you are doing too much, Miss Sassy. And I think that I'm going to try to continue now.
She's just asking you not to ad hom, man. You keep
I'm
on
not ad homing you, dude. I'm honestly telling you factually, you haven't learned this. You haven't learned what a barometer is and how it works. So I'm going to tell it to you.
Barometer pressure is invoking and begging the question, man. I just said
barometer
that.
Pressure
listen, I think
the exact thing you just asked for. You asked for a test to prove this. That's what a barometer does.
Without begging the question of the nature of the Earth and the atmosphere.
Begging any questions. It's showing to you what the air is doing. Okay?
Dude, no one disputes what the air is doing. We're disputing the causality and the necessary antecedent to physical containment. You know what? Just one honest. You listen, Kosho.
No, I'm going to answer your question.
Not ever
both of you are interrupting me to my explanation. Why would I listen to you?
I've said like something for 10 seconds and then you monologue.
No, dude, I'm in the middle of explaining what the barometer is, man, because you just asked for it. You just asked for a proof on how this happens and how it works and evidence of it. I'm trying to give it to you.
Okay, go.
You're going to say some bullshit about me claiming you don't know. You don't know it, man. That's why I have to explain it to you. It's the truth.
No, that's not true. But go.
Okay, then you explain it to me. How about that? Explain to me how a barometer works, and we'll go.
No. This is your claim, right?
Okay, well, then stop talking so I can explain it, please.
Okay, you go for it. Yeah, you're gonna not answer the question.
Wait, go ahead. Yeah. Stop for a second. You get a fucking tube. You fill it with mercury. Okay.
Yeah.
Or water, which you did, but mercury is how it's measured usually. You'll have to flip this or put it in a container. You have to basically put it into a container so it's when you flip it over, there wasn't any exposure. So it's like you kind of have to. You have the tube with mercury. You have this container that has also a little mercury, and you probably have to do it quickly. But you flip them upside. You flip them upright so that the mercury's still in there. And what's going to happen is if there were nothing at all, if there was nothing occurring, there's no pressure, the mercury or the water, whatever you're using, would all just spill out. It would just go down, and the thing would empty. It would level out to where it was the same height outside of the tube and on the inside the tube. What happens is it stays at a consistent height depending on what elevation you are. And what he also used, part of his proof, was doing this test at different heights. And what he saw was that about 6, I think it's a centimeter. It might be an inch. I'm gonna assume it's a centimeter because that would make sense. But a centimeter diameter of this tube, it will be risen to 760 millimeters. So that's why a torr usually it's expressed in the 760 number. But and actually, that's what a torr. That's how torrs are expressed. And so what he did was he measures this at different altitudes. You get different readings because there's different pressures. This is consistent. This is measured twice a day at every airport. So the fact that there's different pressures is not disputable. The fact that there's different pressures in water is not disputable. The reason why it happens in the water is not disputable. The fact that it's the same reason that happens on the earth is not disputable unless you have some other explanation.
Okay. The question was, can you provide an example of gas pressure without a container, void of begging the question of the nature of the earth? So you just monologued about a barometer. So can you just concede, no, there's no other explanation? And then we can move on to the intricacies.
I can give you evidence of that if you fucking need it, even though I just told you how it works on Earth, man. Why would you need a container for it to work the way I just said it works on Earth?
No, because you have to invoke this thing called gravity. But I'm obviously willing to go to that part of the conversation with you, Kosho, but you're not even being honest enough to say, well, the Earth is the one exception. It's the one anomaly. It's the only observation we have that doesn't require physical containment. That's all you had to say, and then we can move on to the intricacies of the conversation. But you're not
an anomaly, though, man. It's not an anomaly.
Is it the one exception to the physical law, the second law of thermodynamics?
Okay, explain to me what the second law of thermodynamics has to do with this.
It's about entropy, energy transfer. So the high pressure system would obviously migrate to the low pressure system, seeking equilibrium, Kosho, and you know
And
that.
what kind of system are they talking about? Closed system, open system? What kind of system are they talking about when they talk about the second law?
Yes, it's a closed system.
It's a closed system.
Because that's the only way you can have pressure, hence the word necessary antecedent.
That's where you're wrong, buddy.
No, I'm asking you very simply. Can you provide one example?
I'm telling you that you're talking about the second law of thermodynamics. You're getting it wrong. And it's talking about an isolated system. Okay? And because it's talking about an isolated system, it's not talking about the atmosphere of Earth at all. Okay? So when you have the second law of thermodynamics and you have entropy, some people could say that if you had a room full of gases, but then you put each of those gases into separate containers, like jars or whatever the hell you put them in, this would be contradicting, well, not contradicting, it would be confronting the second law of thermodynamics. That's because it's doing work against it. That's what forces do. A force can do work against this principle. It's not going to beat it forever, but it's going to do work against it. And that's all putting something in a container is doing. A container is basically just electromagnetism. It's just being repelled from the sides of the container. It's just a force. The same way gravity is a different force, but also there's no reason why a force can't work against entropy. Okay? So that's why bringing it up is completely irrelevant for the 5 reasons I just named.
No.
It's not an isolated system. It's not talking about Earth. Forces can do work against it. There's no reason to bring it up.
Presupposition. You're presupposing the existence of this force. You're presupposing that it isn't a closed system. That is called begging the question, which is why I asked you very specifically, can you offer any example or observation or experiment to show that the necessary antecedent to gas pressure is a physical container without begging the question of the debate, which is the nature of the Earth? If you could simply concede, well, no, that's the only example that we have, that would have been an honest way to discuss this, and then we would have moved on to your claim of how it works. So, no, I'll answer for you. There is no.
I have the answer. No, it's not no, dude. Be quiet. Don't answer for me.
Okay, answer them.
Right here. No, don't answer for me. I just gave you an answer that for some reason you don't like. Okay, that's cool. You don't like it, even though I just told you it's an isolated system, you still say it's a closed system. That tells me something about you. I can't say what that is because I've been told I'm not allowed to. But I just told you it's an isolated system. It's not a closed system. That's law that it's talking about. It's not relating to the atmosphere for these reasons.
Based on your presuppositions, man.
No, not based for any presuppositions. None of those things I said is a presupposition. It's true that everything is compelled downwards. This is what we observe. You don't have to say gravity. I can tell you that the ocean has pressure because of weight. Everyone knows this, dude. So there's no point in saying that. You want an example that you can see physically where there's gas pressure next to a container or gas pressure next to a vacuum without a container containing one from the other. Okay? And that's a practical example. And here's another one is this is called a fuser. Okay? And what's occurring in here is this is a vacuum chamber. This is a vacuum chamber in which there's a vacuum and gas pressure, both being contained within this container, but not separated by the container. And it's due to the electromagnetism.
Yes, the electromagnetism would have an effect on it, Kosho, but there's still a container to let the pressure to exist in the first place. What?
Where's the container?
I'm sitting here looking at it being contained. What are you disputing?
What's being contained? The gas pressure and the vacuum together?
The pressure couldn't exist without the container in general.
No, the pressure doesn't. There's nothing. It's a vacuum. It's a vacuum chamber. They've put gases in it. The gases that have now pressured are being contained from the vacuum, despite them not being not being separated by this container. The container is just to make the vacuum. It has nothing to do with the separation.
Well, yeah, exactly. The container is necessary to make it. Yeah, and in order for pressure to exist in the first place, it has to have a container, bro. I'm not disputing that electromagnetism would have an effect on the pressure.
What is the container containing? What pressure is it containing? Is it containing the pressure inside of the vacuum or the pressure outside the vacuum? It's containing the pressure outside of the vacuum. It's there to make the vacuum. You wouldn't have a vacuum if you didn't have that container. The container is not relevant to the observation that inside the container there is gas pressure and a vacuum separated.
Inside the container, there is gas pressure, Kosho.
There's
so
gas
no.
pressure and a vacuum. You asked where are these things separate? Where are these things together, not separated by a container? They're here.
No, what I'm saying is, can gas pressure even exist without containment?
Yeah, what's being contained? The vacuum is what's being contained. The pressure outside of this, entering into it, is what's being contained, not the pressure inside. The pressure is not being contained by the container. It's being
Is there
contained
gas pressure inside this, Kosho?
Yes, you can see it.
Okay, is it inside a container?
No, it's inside
It
of the
literally is.
electromagnetic.
It literally is. We're all looking at it.
Yeah, there's a vacuum in there. You're looking at a
It
vacuum.
doesn't matter. I asked you a question though. Is there a container still here? Come on, Kosho.
Yeah, you're asking if the container is containing the pressure. It's not.
That's your assertion.
Yes, it's containing the pressure outside of there to make sure that none of the pressure outside is interfering with that vacuum.
Yeah, because it has to because of the second law of thermodynamics.
You said what?
Yeah, because it has to be contained to prevent the taking place of equilibrium, entropy. Yes, that's what I said. So there's a container.
I told you already that the second law of thermodynamics doesn't have to do with the atmosphere and the Earth. So I don't know why you keep bringing it up with the atmosphere.
Well, that's because that's only that.
Do you understand what an isolated system is and how it is distinct from a closed system?
That only works based on your presupposition of the nature of the atmosphere, Kosho.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. If you understand what an isolated and a closed system was, I think you would agree with me. But I don't think you understand what the distinction is.
The Earth is a closed dynamic system, as far as I can tell. So obviously,
okay. So does that mean it's an isolated system? It doesn't mean that. Those are two different things. And the second law of thermodynamics is describing isolated systems.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. If it was what you say it is, the second law of thermodynamics would have to be countered. Okay, we could move on to the specificity of that and have at least some substance in this debate. But you're bringing up this container. This has a container in it, Kosho. So can we just move on? And you're saying
separating the gas pressure and the pressure. Be honest with yourself.
What?
What's separating the gas pressure and the pressure? I mean the gas pressure and the vacuum.
What's separating the gas pressure and the vacuum?
Yeah, there's gas pressure and vacuum in that container. But what's separating?
The electromagnetic energy is affecting the pressure, but in order for the pressure to even exist in this controlled container.
The question is what's separating? There's a vacuum in there and there's a gas pressure in there. Those two things are in there. Okay. I'm asking what's separating the two things.
Yeah, apparently the electromagnetic energy is having an effect.
So that's
but there's a container outside of it, Kosho. So all it's doing is affecting the equilibrium dispersal inside of the contained environment. But it still has a container
on one side and a gas pressure on the other.
Okay, Kosho, this has a container in your postulation of why there doesn't need to be a container. So it doesn't.
Yeah, no. The question is, how can you have them next to each other? Not how can you have them, period. You can't have a vacuum on Earth without putting it in a container. And you understand this. I know you do. So there's no reason to bring that up. You have to have a container to contain a vacuum because the atmosphere would crush it in. So forget about the fact that the vacuum is being contained. Now that you have a vacuum, there's gas pressure and a vacuum inside that container. How are they being separated? That's the question. It's not by the container. So we don't need to circle around this.
Yeah, I've already explained it, dude. Obviously, the electromagnetism is obviously having an effect on the dispersal of pressure, and it's its natural reaction to seek equilibrium. But there is still containment here, which is how the gas pressure can exist in the first place. If you want to act like that isn't the case, doesn't matter. There's pressure inside this container, hence it needs a containment. So anyway, why can't you just say yes? The atmosphere is the one exception where it doesn't need physical containment, and it's because of gravity, and then we can move on there.
I've just shown you an example why, and why would I say it's an anomaly when you have Jupiter, which is completely made out of gas. You have the sun, which is made out of plasma. You have these things that exist next to a vacuum with high pressures, right next to each other, no containers. I'm not going to say there's only one example when that's not the case.
Yeah, so you're having to presuppose this magic fairy tale land of this medium that can't even exist and where a giant gas planet's in a near perfect vacuum. And yeah, trust me, we know the lunacy of the religion, bro. But what I'm trying to say is, can we please just be honest here? That doesn't work. This right here, what you're showing, that has a container. Okay, so can we move on?
What's containing the separation? That's the question. Just because you see a container doesn't mean that's Oh well, that's a container.
Electromagnetism is
Makes that
affecting the
possible.
gas pressure particles due to a dielectric relationship, but there's still a containment.
Dielectric. What's dielectric? What's dielectric
Yeah,
about?
okay. That's why I just said electromagnetic, because I'm not gonna. I mean,
I know you
dielectric,
understand dielectric
electrostatic,
is. That's the problem.
dielectric, electrostatic. The sum of dielectricity times the sum of magnetism equals, electricity. That's
Dielectric.
not what we're
Electricity.
discussing.
We've been
That's
over
not what
this.
we're discussing. So it's can it have a physical can gas pressure exist without a physical container? Okay, you show me an experiment with a physical container, Kosho. I know you want to argue about what's going on inside of it. That's a pretty cool experiment, but it still has a physical container. Pressure needs the container to press on. So you're saying the atmosphere isn't conducive or doesn't obey that law. So
Give you a real life example, but you're just gonna throw it away based on nothing. So that you've
we'll
been
leave
to
it up to
Colorado.
the viewer, man.
I don't know how far you've traveled, but there's places in the world where you don't have to go that far, and not going that far, you could go from sea level where it's 14.7 psi and can be measured in the way I've already described to you, and you can go to Colorado where it's 11 or 10 point something psi, about 4 pounds per square inch lower than at sea level. There's 4 psi difference between these two places. There's no container in between these places. No container whatsoever. So what's containing that pressure?
Well,
okay, I don't think we're going to reach an agreement or.
See, that's not what happens, Sassy. I'm asking him a question.
Hey.
I'm asking him a question now. This is
I'm
not fair for
moving
you to just
the
cut off the
discussion.
question.
Man, you can't just interrupt the moderator, man, and disagree with her
No,
after
she's not a moderator. She's just here to back you up. That's not cool.
I haven't asked you. That's why she hasn't said anything to me.
Well, answer the question.
Calm down, Kosho. Calm down.
No, I answered his questions, right? And I've given him things. I'm asking him a question.
Okay, you're asking about the gradient. There's a variance of factors regarding the gradient on Earth. Okay, there's constant introduction and recycling of gas at the surface level. We'd have to understand exactly what is causing the containment. If it's a physical container, what's the dielectric permittivity and magnetic permeability of that and the objects within, so we can fully understand what's going on. That is not accessible information. So just because I don't have all the information about or needed to actually adequately explain the gradient, other than there's an introduction and recycling of gas at the surface level. So of course the composition and concentration of gas is higher at the surface level. That's sufficient. You're the one claiming all these other explanations based on a deified force that has never been substantiated.
I'm not asking about a gradient. I'm asking about the 14 psi down here. And I said 11. I'll go up to Mount Everest and say 4. I'll go up even higher, 100,000 feet, and say 0.3 or whatever. So you get 0.3. It's pretty close to 0.
That's
pretty close
to
a vacuum. And I'm asking you, how can you have that and you have this on the ground, 14 psi, and you have nothing of a container in between these two places? It's not asking you about a gradient. It's asking you about the thing that you're claiming you don't see or doesn't exist in nature, that I'm telling you, I'm giving you an exact example of when you can observe this. 0 to 14. No container.
Okay, I just explained it. You are asking about the gradient. That's what that question is.
No, I'm asking about the thing that you told me to provide. A vacuum, no pressure, next to a pressure, without a container, which you says the container is what's needed to make the pressure. Now, since it's 0 up there and it's 14 down here, we can say there's gas pressure down here.
No, it's not 0 up there. It's not 0.
It's 0.
Exactly 0, Kosho?
Yeah, 0.3. Go a little bit higher.
Oh, 0.3.
Yeah, 0.002.
And what is that? That's PSI? What does PSI stand for?
0.5 even.
What does that stand for? What does PSI stand for?
Pounds per square inch.
Okay, of what? So what is that? It's pressure, yeah?
Yeah, it's gas pressure. Yes.
Cool. So yeah, it's still there. There is a gradient. There's a variance of factors. There's a variance of factors that need to be taken into consideration to understand the dispersal of the gas pressure on Earth. I've already covered a few.
Yeah, but where is it 0 at?
It's not going to be 0 anywhere.
Ever, right?
Yeah.
Right. So then why do you have a refutal to this? If you're saying that it can't exist next to one another, but then you're saying it doesn't exist anywhere ever, then what's the flaw?
No, you're not understanding. For gas pressure to exist at all, it has to be contained.
Right. And so I just told you how that it's contained down here. There's nothing.
Gravity. Your answer is gravity, correct?
I said I didn't say gravity. I could say the weight of the atmosphere above
Well,
it.
weight invokes gravity. The current interpretation
Sure.
and connotation of weight is that there is gravity. So
Yeah,
are you saying
and I would agree with that, but I know that for some reason you're gonna throw it out. But the truth is,
oh yeah, we're gonna throw it out because you know that I can. You know, I know all about.
No, I know you have literally. I could say what's causing the weight of the atmosphere to bring what's causing the weight of the atmosphere? What causes weight at all? Like what causes the pressure in the ocean? And you're going to say nothing. You're not going to say anything. You're going to say, well, I don't have to explain that. I don't know this, but blah blah blah.
No, the composition of matter, right? So density, yeah, volume and mass, right? And then we also have to take into account the medium. Okay, there's actually a few factors. There's coherency, there's direction, there's location, there's vector, there's magnitude, there's medium,
there's China, there's robots. Like I'm not asking you to name words. I'm saying what causes weight? What is weight?
I was just explaining that.
You weren't explaining anything. You're saying words. I was asking you to explain what weight is.
Okay, yeah, weight is relative density to the medium it's encompassed in. So mass and volume, right? Mass 1, mass 2, distance squared, right? Distance 2. So we have volume of density relative to the medium it's encompassed in, and that's plenty sufficient to explain weight. But I was explaining to you there's actually a variance of other factors like medium, vector, location. These are all specific to the actual what we call weight. You're claiming it has something to do with a deified force named as gravity. So that's where you're thinking that I need your gravity. I don't need it. I'm cool without it. It's just relative density and medium and a few other factors.
So what weighs more? A blimp, an empty blimp with just the structure, like just the wooden shit that's empty? What weighs more? A blimp that's that big, or a what is it? Like a lead, an anvil, which is to go with an anvil. I don't know. What weighs more?
What are you talking about?
Or blimp? I'm asking you a question because you just stated it has to do with density. Density is what makes things weigh more. But in reality, that anvil is more dense than that blimp. That blimp is going to weigh more. So just saying these words, saying that it's density in the medium, it's not density in the medium that causes weight. What causes weight?
Relative density to the medium and coherency, location, vector, magnitude.
Right. So I just gave you two different densities, and I want you to tell me how the thing that was more dense weighed less than the other thing.
I don't know what was its dielectric and electrostatic nature. Listen,
you're just saying things. I really hope your audience understands this. That you're
well, they actually are probably been here a while, and I know all about what I'm
nothing to do with it.
Okay, listen, my man. Here's the deal. You're claiming that gravity's holding. You're completely diverted here, but you're claiming that gravity has held down the atmosphere, and it's adjacent to this vacuum, this near perfect vacuum. Okay, that's your claim. It's preposterous.
That should be your claim too, because we agreed on that a second ago.
No. Here's what I'm asking you. I know the answer. Gravity is your explanation. Now, which gravity is it that's causing the gas particles that naturally disperse due to seeking equilibrium, right? Entropy. What force?
A second ago, you disagreed with me. Why are you saying that it's not possible now? You agree with me that 100,000 feet, it's 0.002. You agree with me that's 14 down here. You agree there's no container in between here and there. So now why are you saying it like it's a ridiculous thing to state?
No, what I'm saying is that's just a gradual dispersal, but for the pressure to exist at all, there still has to be an ultimate containment.
No, doesn't describe a container at all. If there was no pressure up there, 0.2, that doesn't create pressure down here for some reason. Like that doesn't make any sense. The pressure would be against the walls. It wouldn't be on the ground for some reason.
I already explained to you that we would have to know all of the variance of factors, the dielectric permittivity and magnetic permeability of whatever the physical container was, which we don't have access to that information, which is why I tell you that you're shifting the burden of proof. You're making the positive claim there's a magic spinning cartoon ball and that it has this pressurized system that is adjacent to this vacuum that's ever expanding and incredible and amazing little cartoon medium you have. I'm asking you to substantiate it. The only postulation that is even feasible or possible that you have to bring up is gravity. Now I'm asking you to specify your claim.
About gravity. Like you're saying you're straw manning me, man, because I haven't said anything about cartoons and ever expanding space and I didn't say
that was my explanation. Okay, I'm sorry.
Careful not to say these things.
Okay. So gravity is the answer in your model.
Gravity explains weight in my model. I can easily, like, someone said, "Hey, can you explain weight?" And they said, "Can you explain how an anvil weighs different than a blimp?" I would not have to fucking sit there and make some bullshit up and then say, "Actually, the
You
truth is,
would,
I
though.
know, but nobody knows. We have to know the details." I would easily be able to explain it because weight is easily explained by gravity.
Local downward acceleration has been known about for a while, right? It's interchangeable. There's little g, right? Electrostatic relationships. There's coherency. There's a variance of factors. You're claiming big G. You're claiming this mystical, magical thing. That's the bending and warping of space-time.
Keep little g. All you need is little g. Keep little g, and the atmosphere is solved right there. You don't need to get into anything you agree with. If you agree with the downward acceleration, then you can agree that the downward acceleration is going to cause the weight of the atmosphere.
Downward acceleration is a metrical representation of the effect of something falling. 9.8 meters per second squared is the effect of something falling, and then you write a math, that's description. You're actually claiming you're claiming the imposition of the causality of a force known as.
I'm not getting into the cause of that. I'm talking about the gas. This is the whole conversation about gas pressure, atmospheric pressure. You're saying and agreeing with me that there's a downward acceleration. I don't need to talk about gravity to agree with you that there's downward acceleration. We can just agree on that. I don't have to say what it is. It could be whatever. The downward acceleration causes things to go downwards. That downward acceleration is what causes weight. If somebody asks you next time, you can just say that. You can say weight is caused by the downward acceleration times the mass.
No, how can it be caused by the effect?
No, so what happens is with this downward acceleration is happening, and it is giving things weight. It's going to give the atmosphere weight too, because the atmosphere, just like the water, is going to be above atmosphere, more atmosphere, which is going to create pressure. That's all you need. It's simple, and there's no need to confuse it with anything. Like, it's really kind of simple.
Cool. Yeah, you're conflating cause and effect. The effect of downward acceleration is the cause. That's not how it works. It can't be a cause and effect.
I didn't say that.
You did. All. You just don't remember that you said it, but it can all be it can be reminded. Dude, we're at 3 hours.
What did I say it was the cause of?
We're going to be doing closing statements. Please.
Okay, but I want him to answer what he just said. He just claimed something. He just said that I said something. I want him to say what he was claiming.
You said downward acceleration was the cause of weight.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, downward acceleration is an effect. Now you make your closing statement. Go for it, bro.
2 minutes. Go.
Yeah, I answered in detail the questions that you have an issue with the rotation and the axial rotation of the Earth. It's very simple stuff. I went over all the details of all of them. I posed you questions. You had no answers for them. You had no answers for why there's different directions. Then we went the same exact problem happened when we talked about the curvature. I went over examples on how things that would be impossible otherwise are happening because there's curvature of the Earth. You said that you believe in refraction, but then you don't agree that it does anything that's useful. But it actually does. It makes things seem further and closer than they are. I went over all that. We never really addressed any of the why the horizon drops or lowers due to the curvature, but it's fine. So basically, it's round 2 of me giving you lots of information on stuff and you just saying, no, it doesn't happen. But that's fine. The same thing with the atmosphere. Yes, for proof of next to a medium, gas pressure next to vacuum without a container separating them. I've showed you that. I've explained that how we see this every day in reality. I explain how it occurs. You don't care. It could be some dielectric stuff, which you also don't really know what it is. So there's, like I said, to think that you've answered or did, explain anything to me, I know that you're going to leave here thinking that, but you have to ask yourself, what at all did you refute on what I said? Like, what answers do you really have when someone poses you the questions? How do you get past the fact that there's 2 sides or 2 directional rotations? How do you get past that perspective will never allow something below something to obstruct something above something, half a building to be disappeared? Zero pressure at the sky, 100,000 PSI, 100,000 feet, 0 PSI, and 14 down here. These are things you can't explain, but somehow have a problem with. To me, it's just bewildering, but I just hope that people could just research this stuff on their own and see that there's no mystery to almost any of this. So.
Okay, that was good, Jeremy. Long 2 minutes, man. But
it seems like I was just about on time, man.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying it just seemed like a longer duration of time.
Sure.
But
Well,
yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and time it too. So we'll go ahead and get to your 2 minutes.
okay,
I
cool.
am the moderator. I got the timer. Go with
All
it.
right.
Sure, I got one too.
Here we go.
Okay.
So basically, there were 3 topics of discussion: axial rotation, curvature, and the necessary antecedent to gas pressure being physical containment. He did not substantiate any form of axial rotation. He even had to concede these things. So, Foucault's pendulum has no independent frame of reference. Gyroscope imposes the causality. The correlation doesn't equal causation. So there's no axial rotation been substantiated still to this day ever. Curvature hasn't been substantiated. He has to bring up horizons, then say we never see horizons. Apparently physical locations can't be seen or perceived. So what we've effectively done in 2020 via the Black Swan, thanks to my boy QE, he's name dropped so many times, and we have removed the physicality of the geometric horizon, and we've dismantled the radius because it literally can't exist. So there you go. Axial rotation, curvature can't work. And then, of course, the third and very simple aspect is necessary antecedent to gas pressure is physical container. That's what all observation shows us. Literally all observable phenomena, they have to invoke gravity. Never been substantiated. Went from a force to an effect. They can't determine which one it is. Einsteinian, Newtonian. Really, Einsteinian gravity is a reification fallacy to theory of relativity because it reifies space and attributes a physical property to a privation. So it isn't even right on its face in theoretical possibility. So very simple. Nothing new here. Those 3 claims can't be substantiated. The globe Earth is a positive claim. So axial rotation, curvature, gas pressure, necessary antecedent, all has been clearly just demonstrated to be a problem for this religion. So I can see one.
Well, that ends the the debate portion of the show. I want to thank you, Kosho, for coming out and debating Whitsitt. We look forward to seeing you on all the other social media platforms that we share. And good luck to you in the future on future debates. Thanks, man. And Whitsitt, take it over.
All right. Thanks. Love. Thanks for helping out.
No problem.
Peace.
Bye.
All right. So yeah. What's up, guys? It is what it is. That's just, we've been on here for so long. I didn't even realize that this was this long. So it's cool. Like I said, dude, Kosho's smarter than a lot of them. A lot of Globebusters we'll discuss with, but he's just fighting a losing battle. I wish he'd see that. I don't know what his motivation is, but thanks for joining, guys. Hope you got some form of entertainment or whatever you want to call it out of that. Thanks everybody. What up, dude? Why did you use words? Is that what you heard? It's probably all word salad. Thanks everybody. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and end this because that's the end of the debate. Maybe I'll jump on and chat with y'all or something later. I just don't want someone to watch this and then we ran within. We had that at the beginning. So much love, everybody. Thanks for joining. Of course, unplug from the box. I'll catch up with y'all later. Peace.